Another.
Well, freshman. Those are good numbers. Girls are about, what, 33, 34?
Is that 9 through 12?
It's really good. 7th and 8th grade just started tonight.
I got the rosters today. I'm not sure what they are, but
Yeah, it's
I didn't look at them. It's better.
You'll come filling in.
good. Yeah, better. Bruce's hard work is paying off. Yeah. And the rain over the weekend helped tremendous. Yeah. It's starting to get a little dry. It's fourth grade band night, so as you see people kind of streaming in and out, it's the band, fourth grade band. It's our small class, so there's only 40 potential kids to choose from. I know Mr. Collins was a little nervous about the instrumentation with only 40 kids, so he's hoping to make the push, so he's got the appropriate sections.
Yeah, it's 7 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jackie, on the roll.
Yes.
Okay, everybody's here. No quorum. Item C, adoption of the agenda. Any changes?
I've got,
Unpublished?
yes, I got one, number 6 on new business. Instead of $8, should say $7. $1, like my description said, $1 raise. This year's current admission was $6, not $7, so.
It's gonna be a long one tonight.
Sure, it's the full packet.
Any other changes?
That's all I've got.
Okay.
I know Jackie put another list of bills on everybody's desk.
These are posted within the large document.
Take a motion to adopt that agenda with the change. You ready?
I'll make motion to adopt the agenda with that change.
I have a motion and second to adopt the agenda with the change. Mr. George voted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to item D, public input on non-agenda items. Is everybody here signed up to speak from the public? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Move on to item E, approval of minutes of past meetings. Questions on those? Clarifications? So take a motion when you're ready. So motion and second to approve the minutes of past meetings. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Moving on to item F, approval of financial items. School business official report, financial reports, and summary list of bills.
School business official report, I don't have anything specific other than I have not received any additional information from our audit team, so just kind of sitting and waiting. I was giving them a couple weeks more and then I'm gonna reach out and just see where we're at. I'm sure they're trying their hardest to get things put together. On the financial report, we'll start with the special revenue fund report. As you can see before you, management has $204,000 in it. Management shouldn't have any other expenses for the remainder of this fiscal year, other than possibly if we'd have a work comp claim or something like that, that would need to be sent through that. Otherwise, the next expense will be with our district insurance policy, the renewal for casualty and property and all of that in July and August. Physical plant and equipment, $291,000 in that. Playground, $118,000. Save, 1.4, and then your debt service account, just at 22 cents. It keeps it open so that we use that for debt service and payment of our save revenue bond. It has to flow through debt service. It's just one of the rules. I don't have anything specific to report on those other three funds unless you have questions. We just kind of keep building up those so that we can continue to plan for our capital outlay. It's coming started obviously already, and hopefully we'll have some more things coming forward. And then in the activities report, you have the activity fund, the hot lunch fund, your student construction, FFA farm, and split funding. As you can see, the student construction, that is just through April. So there are some additional things that will be added before the final costs of the home are concluded, and whether or not the Hovers decide they want us to continue with construction. Otherwise, again, not much to report. The split fund will come into discussion later on in the meeting when we talk about our insurance renewal and the changes forthcoming there. And then in the annual treasurer's report, as you can see, the revenue is kind of in line where it's been, the $270,000, right around that, close to $300,000 up in revenue. Expenditures are maintaining at that $573,000 over last year. And so I pulled a report just to kind of see where those increases lie. And salary and benefits are the majority of it, obviously. And then we do have about a $55,000 increase to date over last year for some nursing services for a special education student, and then some increased costs to tuition out for another special education student. So that does add up pretty fast. Otherwise, everything else is just the cost of doing business. We did have some increased costs with some technology related equipment as well, with some federal funding. So that's where things lie there. I'm not too concerned about those increases. It's just what we have to do. With the special education increases, remember we do have the deficit that we will turn into the state at the end of the year, and then they give us back spending authority for that. So that's very helpful to us as well. Cash again is at 4.2 million, continues to climb because we did levy for cash this last year. Again, going forward, we will not be able to levy for cash because of that fund balance. So, summary list of bills. Is there anything specific that anyone has any questions on? I did put a additional list in front of you, but it is all inclusive in the report online. So as you're looking through, it is 12 pages. It's that time of year. So if you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer anything that you might have.
Jackie, is the special revenue funds through April?
Yes, I have not.
Bob
That,
says March.
that's through April.
Good, thank you. I thought so.
Yep. Yes, everything is through April 30th. Yep.
Dave and I had asked earlier, and maybe some of you have already, but I think it's a $5,000 bill to Callahan Consulting Services. And that's some student achievement data. Someone, Sioux Center.
Correct.
Told me so. Manipulate that data, if you will, compile it.
Compile it, build in a dashboard that teachers will be able to utilize to look at our FAST data and our ISASS data. If you remember, we've been working with the AEA over the last few years. Problem is, it's not cumulative, so we don't have the ability to look backwards and find those trends. So we're working with Sam Callahan to compile that.
Other questions for Jackie and friend? Entertain a motion to approve those items when you're ready.
I'll make a motion to approve financial items.
Motion and second to approve the list of financial items. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried. Moving on to item G, administrative reports and discussion items. Mr. George.
Yes, so lots of students to recognize for their achievements here as we close in on the end of the year. I would really like to congratulate Lillian Downer for her recognition at the Governor Scholar presentation here a couple weeks ago. And then she was also our representative to the Northwest Iowa Review Academic All Area Team. So congratulations to Lillian. State track qualifiers are listed here. I didn't list all the participants in the relays, but their send-off is tomorrow after rehearsal for our seniors. So lots of kids down there competing, continuing that excellence in athletics this spring, like we've been blessed with each season this year. And then the girls golf team were the conference champions for the Siouxland Conference. They play tomorrow in their regional final. So we should know, hopefully by this time tomorrow, if they're going back to state. So congratulations to all them. Staff, we want to recognize our retirees, Toby Lorenzen, Amy Sieberta, Deb Snyders, and Denise Snyders. Again, as we talked to the four of them, they're not really enthused about anything organized, so we're doing more like a card shower. So if you've seen in the paper in the last few weeks, we've been advertising if you want to send a card and recognize the retirees, we'll make sure that they get them. And then we'll do something really low-key here, just as a staff, as we wind down the year before they're done. Prom was couple weeks ago as well. And we want to thank Steve Bresky and Todd Nath for all their work with the kids and Kelly Weiler and Kristen Vandekamp as our prom sponsors. And then all of the after prom committee members, those involved with the daddy-daughter dance as well. We had a fellow staff member want to recognize Jessica Herman. If you don't know Jessica, Jessica's first grade teacher. It's just a ray of sunshine down there on that first floor. So her team down there on the first floor sent in a recognition when I put this out about a week ago to recognize students, staff, and community members. So we thank Mrs. Herman for her just her way with kids and professionalism amongst the staff. So community recognition, this month is School Board Recognition Month. So thank you for your service to our kids and staff in the community. We appreciate everything that you guys do for the district and most importantly, the students. Got a certificate that I'll get you before we're done, maybe when you guys are signing bills here. So thank you for that. I included a attachment for the Booster Club, their gift. I know Jason had mentioned last month they had just met and awarded $22,000. So you can kind of see all the projects that they funded within there. Did I get that attached? Yep. So you can see those. We also had another donation from Judy Sieberta's memorial. That money's going to the backpack program. She was a big supporter of that during her life, and even in her death, she continues to contribute to the backpack program. And I know that as donations continue to come in, we'll continue to benefit from those. So thanks to Judy's family for that. Ransom Church donated $2,000 earmarked for special things for staff and updating staff lounges specifically. So the principals are thinking about how to utilize that funding, and we thank Ransom Church. That gift came in during Teacher Appreciation Week last week. And then the after prom committee members, we want to specifically recognize Jason Chase, Wendy Chase, Brian Eben, Mr. Engelman, Jessica Jensen, Matt Cook, Brooke Konieczny, Jen Peterson, Amy Schulte, Dawn Spees, and Miss Jackie Wells. So another successful prom. Kids were safe. Kids made memories. And a lot of that goes not only to the junior class officers, but to, like we said before, the after prom committee, sponsors.
All the
Steve Preston.
donations,
Yeah.
lots of community donations as well.
So thank you. Anybody I missed, Mr. Engelman?
It's a big thank you in advance to all of our scholarship providers. Our presenters tomorrow, we have our senior award ceremony in the morning before grad rehearsal, and we'll give out an enormous amount of dollars to graduates and awards and recognition pieces. So that's
All right.
Very good, thank you. Move on to item 2, staff presentations. We have 3 of them tonight. Start with Mrs. Ditzworth on the 8th grade biography presentations. The floor is yours.
Where do I go?
You can stand and speak right there.
Oh, stand and speak right there. Turn around and look. Oh, I'm like right by you, so. This is our 22nd year of doing our 8th grade biographies that was started with Ms. Van Wy and Mr. Eckenrod. So it's a great thing that we're doing, so we're continuing it on. And I just wanted to let the school board know, what we do in middle school for this. So this year we had 64 students that presented their biographies to peers, parents, friends, and extended families. We had 259 guests that week come in those 5 days to see our school. I talked to the kids, and we had a grandparent drive from Texas because they got to be the person chosen. And then South Dakota, Iowa, Minnesota, and Wyoming. And then I don't know how many people did the FaceTime sharing their presentations with other family members. And, it's a 5-month project that starts in November. Students interview, they create a publishable booklet, they create a presentation, they create a script, they learn, all the things that you need to do to do public speaking, meeting our standards. And this year, as last year, we did have a family member pass away and before the event, and that student presented during their memorial service. And so, these are keepsakes. A few of the comments that I got from family members, grade 1 was between a brother and a sister. They're like, I don't remember doing that to you. They were arguing as they came out, and it was cute. And then, I didn't know that Grandpa, I didn't know that you did that. Great project. Grandparents said I enjoyed the one-on-one time spent with my grandchild. I've been looking forward to it being my chance to finally be interviewed. The kids did great, and again, I heard so many, thank you for doing this project. So, we'll keep doing it. It's a great project. Takes a little bit of time out of our day for the kids, but just to get the people into our school to see our school and all we do is, I think, very beneficial to continue this project. So that's all I wanted to let you know about what we're doing.
Thanks for your hard work, Lenny. I mean, it's a big undertaking, and like you mentioned, very rewarding for the kids, but I would say probably more rewarding for the family member that gets to be interviewed.
Definitely.
So
And I would echo that same thing. This could have easily been something that kind of slid to the wayside as we lost some veteran staff members, but Lenny kind of took the reins of it and done a fantastic job. Public speaking is not something the kids get excited for. You can imagine as it gets closer to due date time, the anxiety and the different range of emotions that go into it. Lenny does a good job of kind of keeping those under control and scheduling all that out. So it's a wonderful experience. I'm glad we can continue that project.
Yeah, I've been an 8th grader
Yes.
through this year.
Yeah.
To Lexi, and I hope it never ends. I think Jason said, Public speaking is hard. It doesn't get a whole lot easier when you're an adult and maybe get a little bit more practice, but for those kids to get up there on the stage and do their thing is pretty cool. Okay, thank you. We will move on to Mr. Cruz, who will chat us up about Siouxland Conference cashless admission and athletics updates. Mr. Cruz.
You're probably aware of a few, it's been probably 3-4 years ago, there was a company called Varsity Bound that, it's an Iowa company, and they started creating a stat program, a lot of different options on this program, and they tried to sell it all to the schools in the area or all throughout the state of Iowa. Like I said, started as an Iowa company, and it does a lot of scheduling. And we currently have a program called Our School, and that's what everybody in the Siouxland Conference used. And Varsity Bound's goal was basically eliminate Our School or buy it out from them, whatever. And then they started working with conferences throughout the state to find out what features Our School has and so forth. And long story short, Varsity Bound is now called Bound, and it's grown dramatically over the last 5 years. It's in several states, and it's obviously the thing that really probably was the clincher for them was the state of Iowa athletic associations basically adopted them as their program. So anytime I get an email, like for example, coming up here at the end of the baseball softball season, we'll have to recommend umpires to something we do every year. That will all be done through Bound. Any sort of Mr. Jorth, and Mr. Engelman and I were working on a participation survey here a couple of weeks ago. All that information had to be entered on Bound again. That's where all the information that we send out to the state, that's where it all goes. They basically adopted that program. So about a month or so ago, they had a representative from Bound came to a Siouxland Conference AD meeting, and they promoted what they're calling their Let's Go Bound program. I think Mr. Jorth, everyone of you have this Let's Go Bound. Okay. Let's Go Bound. We currently have Bound Pro is what we are using. We pay Bound $500. Each school in the conference does. Well, they came to us and said, hey, we want to do a different program called Let's Go Bound. And it's going to be zero cost to the school district. It will no longer, you won't have to pay the $500. And they've gone as far as telling us that we'll even possibly pay something back to the school. It's not been a very specific amount, but they basically asked, like, what do you guys pay for your conference dues, for example? They said, well, you pay $200. We say, our dues are $250. That's what the Siouxland dues are. Well, they said, well, we might pay back that to you guys. We'll pay your dues, is one of the things that they told us. But Let's Go Bound is a program that, and probably the biggest thing that Let's Go Bound, the selling, what they're trying to sell us is that they want all the schools in the Siouxland to go cashless. So we're right now, like when people come in to buy tickets, as you know, if you go to any sort of a tournament game, if you're going to the state track meet, anywhere you go, you need to buy your ticket in advance. And there's been two different, the boys and girls have different ticket sites. The girls use Bound. The boys do not currently for just the ticket site because they had signed a contract a few years back with a different company before Bound got involved in ticketing. And that's why that happened. But so they came to us and said the big thing is the cashless. We want you to go cashless. And what they proposed to us is for the cashless, they will charge each school 90 cents per transaction. So if Amy comes in with her family and everybody buys a ticket, that's 90 cents. But if Scott comes in and then Jill comes in and one of his kids would come back, that would 90 cents each time they buy a ticket. But it's a 90 cents transaction that automatically goes to, that's the cost that they're, and yeah, I mean, think about it, that's why it's zero cost to the schools, because they're making their money through the ticket fee. But it's a transaction, it's 90 cents per transaction. So that was part, and and I'll just I kind of jump to that, but the dedicated bound director, what that would mean is they would have someone in the area, and we have a retiring AD in the area who they've kind of already talked to, and he would kind of be our go person. So we would always have someone fairly close to us that we could come to, hey, we're having a problem with this, or we're having an issue with this, that he would be able at least to point us in the right direction or get a hold of this person, because they'll help you with that specific idea. So that's kind of what the dedicated bound director. Mr. Dorff, the premium fan website, I'm just going to we're going to show you MOCs once, because MOC for the Siouxland Conference has kind of been the I don't want to say guinea pig, but they've kind of adopted more so than what anybody else has. And their AD is the person who would be the bound director because he's retiring. But if you go to MOC, this is the website. Now, Mr. Dorff, if you would open up another tab with ours in there once, I have it on just to show just a little bit, just a little comparison. This is the Central Lyon website currently. Now, and we've got under activities, the calendar, that's all there. You can click on it shows all of our activities, each one's do that. You go to the directory, for example, and it will show, bound isn't the quickest, it's never been very good as far as speed. But that gives all the school information. It goes through all of our coaches, our administrators. Yeah, that's all in there. Each one has that. But some of the things we don't have, if you go to MLC, for example, you'll notice MLC has tickets. MLC used bound for tickets this past year. Now they weren't cash. I mean, they weren't cashless per se, but they used bound for their season passes, for their student activity tickets. That's who they used. They used bound because they do offer that option as well. And I'll get to that in just a few minutes here as well. And that's where you could buy the passes. You would buy directly through the varsity bound, through the bound. That's where we would get them all. We would order all of our passes. And the passes, if we were to buy, like when we order our student activity tickets, it'd be $2 per ticket. That's what it would cost us from them to make them and get them back to us, $2. So anyway, and Okoboji also has, if you click on the registration, this is another feature that we don't do yet here, but another feature is when they go to, if you have a student athlete, the minute that student athlete is in 7th grade, you go to bound, and that's where all the information is stored. You can upload their concussion form on there. The parent can do that. You can upload the physical on there, and it's all stored right there for you in bound. Again, these are just some of the features that it offers. But like I said, we haven't got to that point yet with ours, but these are just some of the things. This would all be included in that Let's Go Bound platform at no cost, per se. So that's kind of just some of the few of the features there. Now, if you want there's a few things that when we met, then the superintendents met with us a couple of weeks ago, and we had a second presentation from Bound, and there are definitely some questions and some things that we're not fond of. And if you want to pull up their store once, Mr. Dorff. Part of the requirement, if you go with Let's Go Bound, you have to offer. Keyword is offer, something like this. If you have one of them is MLC Booster Club, the other one is their middle school athletic complex. If you want to donate to that, you can do it right here on this page. You can donate right to, if you click on their Booster Club, Mr. Dorff, they'll have like 4 different memberships. You can get, $100, you're this member, you're purple or you're white or you're Dutch or you're not Dutch, I don't know. But that's some of their options. Now, what we don't like about this is they take 20%. So if you're out there promoting your alumni to just join your booster club or be a fundraiser for, you could put volleyball or softball, any sport up there, hey, donate to our volleyball trip, we're going to, across the state to play. Anybody did that, they would say, oh, I'll get $50. Well, they're not actually giving 50 to the school. 20% goes to Bound. And as Mr. Dorff and we talked about that, we're not a fan of that. You have to have that option on the page,
We don't have to.
but you don't have to promote it. And that's kind of where we basically told the guy, well, we'll have it, but no way are we gonna tell people, our booster club people, hey, put, lose 20% of them, we're just not gonna. And as long as you basically offer it, they're okay with it for now. But that's just another thing that if you go to this Let's Go Bound, and so that gets into your part where they talk about the team fundraising tools.
Yeah.
Well, that's what that is. It's, they're, like I said, they get 20%.
That's what's here on the back.
Yeah, and that's on the back page of that. And some of your larger, and where it's a selling point is, like, I went on a different, like Cedar Rapids Day, I went on Cedar Falls today, looking at some of your larger schools. Well, they have it plastered full, because in a large school district where there's so many different entities and so many different clubs, I'm sure they just want people to, that's what they send their people to, instead of trying to have individuals run every single one, they just funnel it all through there. But anyway, this is some of the things that they offer for their this Let's Go Bound. But the biggest thing that I guess that we need to discuss or talk to you guys about is the tickets and the cashless. We had our last AD meeting of the year today, and we did send them a few questions about the cash. We just had a couple of questions for them. I was just gonna, I got the email here. It's on. But for example, one of the things that we did ask them was, if we do go cashless, the season passes and so forth activity are part of it. If you go cashless with them, the expectation is you're going to get all the season activity tickets through them as well. Now, like I said, that would cost like $2 per ticket. So again, because do you add that cost onto to the families, or do the school district just pay the $2? That would, another thing we asked them about getting money back. If these games get canceled or something happens, then they do take care of that for you if people buy the tickets and something. Especially this winter we had some events that got moved around, and even though they may have not been canceled, it may have been moved from. We had a basketball game that was scheduled for December that got played in February. Well, you just got to work with them. They will refund money as well in those cases, things like that. We asked them for a contract. So that 90 cents, one of the things that was discussed a lot with the superintendents was, what are the hidden fees? What are they going to do to us 2 years from now? Once they have us, is that cost per ticket now going to jump to $1.30 per transaction or something like that? They are willing to give a 5-year contract on the 90 cents. That won't change. So that's, and like I said, and now Mr. Dorothy, if you want to talk a little bit about the bottom, that 30% bound sponsorship plan, what that actually means.
Yeah, again, we would have our choice on this top line bound sponsorship plan. So you might have noticed on MOCs here, if I went back to their homepage,
You can just click it.
whether you're on the website or you're using their app on your phone, you'll see here the American Savings Bank or whatever and the VE Insurance. They've got scrolling ads whenever you click on their app, and they're selling those ads as sponsorships. So what we're thinking is, we've got our video sponsors. Those are the people that we would advertise with. And granted, we've already got multi-year agreements with those people. And so the first 2 years, we would like to honor those agreements with those sponsors. And so the activity account would pay for that. And then once we go back out 3 years from now, when those sponsorships expire, we can look at setting different levels or different tiers to the sponsorship. And one of those things would be, again, if you're on Bound and you get that advertising in addition to YouTube broadcasting ads that we run and commercials that we run, that would maybe be at the top tier. But if you're at the middle tier or the lower tier, you wouldn't be a Bound sponsor. your ads wouldn't be scrolling on the app or on the website. So, again, I think this is the way that the athletic associations have pushed us, whether we like it or not. They've already got us kind of hooked through a lot of the things that Dan is already doing with the athletic associations. They've already trained us how to purchase the tickets because of the postseason, the girls' union. I'm gonna say in 2 years or 3 years, when hometown ticketing is up with the boys, they're gonna be with Bound. And so the cashless component to this is also appealing. Jackie right now is counting, especially during the winter, money bags and gate bags,
That would be him and Mr. Bresky.
you know.
We count money after every game. I count all the I count the money, take it to the bank, deposit it, and Steve does the same thing at the concession stand. So that's, and then the bank counts it obviously, and then we have, Jackie gets the transactions from.
Reconciles all that.
One of the things that, what would happen is, so if you go cashless, what Bound will do is they will set up an account, and we would have to work with Jackie, they would work with Jackie on this, they would set up an account. We would get paid like every 5 weeks, is what we would get paid. And they would break it down for us for, like, say they would this fall, when you have football going on and you have volleyball going on, and just say that if there was a cross-country event that we hosted and that, you know, there was people paid for that, same thing. And they would break it down so Jackie would know that, okay, when this revenue, this needs to go into the football activity account, this goes into the volleyball activity account. It doesn't just come, hey, you made this much, you know, divvy it out. I mean, they would actually break it down for us. But it would be once every 5 weeks, which, you know, that's a little scary, I guess, in a way. It's quite a length of time between, but, you know, again, it's people that, you know, yeah, trust. Obviously, I mean, we won't have an idea on what we sell for tickets. You're putting your trust in this company, but I mean, they're like I said, they're connected to the state association. I mean, I don't think that's an issue at all as far as that part, but that is one thing that you wouldn't have a real good idea on. And I mean, like the past year, and this, like I think I mentioned it, like when, like this would be like season, this would be like adult family passes, this would be adult activity tickets as well. This would be any sort of those things as well. That would all, they would be bought. You would buy them through here, through Bound. You would buy them, pay for them with a credit card, and then we would get that money back.
And then on the night of the event, let's say you've got
Yes.
grandma and grandpa that are here. They don't buy the advance tickets. Once you show up, instead of handing them $6 in cash, we'd have a credit card machine. And you'd just swipe your credit card machine. They don't have a credit card.
And they understand that the first year, so you're going to have some. But I'll be honest with you. I mean, like this year, you know, we hosted several postseason events, and I think the very last one we hosted, the last girls basketball game would have been, I had one cash transaction.
We have we have a handful of people that come in and we assist them.
Yeah. Yep.
With those pre-advanced ticket sales.
Yeah.
We'll do the ticket ordering for them. They bring their credit card in. But this is different. You'll do it right then and there. And so we wouldn't have to do that.
And what we did during the postseason too, I brought my laptop out and just sat at a desk and when the ticket taker said, hey, they don't have tickets, if they had a credit card, I just went online, I showed them, I said, watch me, I'm putting in your account here, so I'm not, and then I would print them to the printer, and then I'd go get them off the printer, we would scan them, and away they would go. But this way, we actually have one scanner already. The very last girls' postseason game, they wanted you to scan tickets, and one of the tech directors, who I know quite well, was not happy with them about how it works, so he said, we're not doing that, and we just did our own, and it worked fine. I mean, they got their money. That was the bottom line. But you know, and one of the things that this creates a little bit for us, you know, in talking to Jeff and Curtis, you know, like we don't have the Wi-Fi access down at the football field that we need right So in order for those, so I mean, when you come for the, when they come through for the scan, I mean, when we had postseason football, we scanned all the tickets. But now if people want to come and buy the tickets, now you're gonna have to, so we're gonna have to
Beef up our.
beef up our internet down there so we can run those scanners, because you do have to have internet access for the scanner.
So is this a central line decision or a Siouxland conference decision?
Siouxland Conference. Currently, as of right now, this afternoon, we met today, West Lyon, MOC, Sheldon, and Okoboji all have approved the cashless. Obviously, our board meeting is tonight. There was a couple more this week as we talked today. Rock Valley is gonna wait till June with theirs. Bound asked us to have a decision by the end of May, but Rock Valley is waiting. They're gonna consider it. But one of the questions we asked today, what if we have a 9-1 vote? Let's say there's 9 yeses, and Rock Valley says no. We talked to the Gary McElhenney, who's the president of the Siouxland Conference Superintendents right now. He said 9-1 would mean we would still do it. And they would just have to go along because of majority.
That's kind of what I was after.
Yeah.
So would concessions also be cashless?
Well, that is something, Jackie, you want to address that a little bit?
Not really. I'm working on it. The problem with concessions is that you have several people working at one time and a variety of people. I have a couple different options, but with one such as Venmo, the issue becomes, how do you prove someone did the transaction?
Yeah.
Because you're not scanning, you're not doing that. So I have some things to work through. I have a Square option, so some things to work through, but we are researching it. I do have options. It's just to work out all the kinks, so we might have to test run it and see.
Because I even think of like, as a parent with like youngish kids, like, I might send my second grader, my fourth grader to the concessions, or even like drop my fourth grader off for a basketball game.
They're not
but,
gonna
like,
have a card with
they
them.
don't have a credit card. So like,
Right.
that's the one thing we took friends with us to state, for example, like state basketball. And I mean, the parent was like, well, I would send cash with you for my kids, but it's cashless. And so
Believe
it's
me,
like,
we
well,
ran into the same
you can
issue
just
when we
Venmo
sent
me.
our teams
We had,
there.
I had some
Yeah.
kids.
I mean,
yeah,
we have-
with
so I mean, I know it does like cause issues
Yeah.
sometimes, but like I get it. It's appealing.
I wouldn't want to go completely away from cash at the concession stand. I don't know that we'll ever maybe get there. And I shouldn't say ever. We will. I mean, it's just the way the world
Right.
is going. But we are looking at an option. So
Currently, 2 schools in the Siouxland offer a credit card option, but none of them are all
Strictly.
cashless.
Okay,
They just offer the credit card option. But again, you have your processing fee.
right.
The $2 pickle.
and that's the other thing is if we even go to Square or Venmo or any of
There's
those
process.
things, I will have to increase. If you choose to use that as an option, it will be a higher price than if you hand me cash.
Mhm.
Because
It's like going to JJ's, right?
Yeah, yep.
I pay cash when I can pay cash, and when I don't have cash,
like with Venmo,
then I pay
it's
a premium to
one-
use my credit
a
card.
1.2% fee plus 35 cents. It's like this odd equation, but it is an option.
So
There's just a lot of kinks.
So Dan, is this a Siouxland conference all or nothing?
it almost has to be, Dave, because of, so like, if you come to Central Lyon, I mean, just for people's peace of mind. I mean, like if you're going to an away game, okay, is that one, do I have to have my ticket in advance? Is that cashless or I mean, it probably, that's kind of the direction we would like to go.
For consistency.
Yeah, and as far as getting some of the perks from the bound themselves, yeah, it has to be an all or none sort of thing.
So it's not just Central Lyon approving it, it's do we support the
Yeah.
conference in?
Conference in doing this, yeah. And we, like I said, we're concerned, I mean, one of the, Mr. Dorth and the superintendent were very vocal to the guy, and Mr. Dorth and I presented to us at a group meeting, and Mr. Dorth and I met with him again later on Zoom. If you don't have to go to MLC's, Mr. Dorth, but you'll see on some of them, you'll just see this camp option right there. So West Lyon decided to use this camp option for football this year. Jeremy was telling me, we were talking about that, and they decided to use that. Well, so anybody that registered their kid for camp, there's an extra 6% on there that Bound charged. It's those hidden charges. that's a feature that they have that you don't have to use again, but West Lyon used it, and 6% went to Bound. I mean, if you want to pencil out this 90 cents transaction, well, Jack and I could give you a pretty good guess on how many tickets we sold at the football game last year. Them saying we don't have to pay $500 anymore, well, trust me, they're going to get their money back on the tickets. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it's not, it sounds, like they're doing it for nothing, but no. But I mean, it is, a lot of the schools are running into issues. People, especially when we went to $6, our staff is included, they do not like the $6. They do not like giving change.
I'm sure the change is. I take tickets all
Yeah, I mean, it is one of our most dedicated.
I don't like it with the cash bags. I
No.
put ones and
Yeah.
it's just a pain too, so.
So we wouldn't have to do it for football, though, because it's not Siouxland Conference.
They're all Siouxland Conference district participants,
Again,
except for
consistency.
Cherokee.
Cherokee and Western. So that is we did talk about today, the 4 schools at the table today all said that they would rather go the cashless option. And one of it is and stay at 7, then stay at 7 now, stay consistent with cost again is kind of what is another factor there. Because we asked about Mr. Earl and I talked before I went, I had asked some questions. One we talked about was, okay, district football isn't the same. I mean, you're different schools involved. You have 2 non-Siouxland schools there, but everybody today when we talked about it felt that to stay consistent for each school, so people don't, okay, this football costs this much, basketball costs this much, and whatever, that we would stay with the same ticket cost, which was, at one time it was 8. When we first met, Mr. Dorth, it was gonna be $8. That's what the superintendents, and that we've kind of talked to them since that, the superintendents have met again and have said maybe 7 would be better. So we're actually.
So we're
like
really
10.
just covering our costs
Yeah.
for the credit card fees.
Yeah.
Cashless fees instead of an additional $1. And that's where the 5-year contract, because if you remember last year when I came to you and said, my recommendation is go to $6, I said, we're not gonna come back to you for a few years. Well, here we are, right? Well, I think the benefit of having the credit card readers and not having to count the cash, our ticket takers don't have to make change. It's the way the world is.
Yeah.
I think. Plus the tools, there's like at least 12 modules that you can access. Now, some of them have fees, like the camp thing,
Yeah.
like the donation thing that Bound is going to make additional. But there's also things that don't have fees.
Yeah.
Like the
Scheduler,
like the facility
manager.
manager. So there's a lot of modules that we use different systems. Steve Bresky uses a system, Lane Menning uses a system for transportation, Dan uses a different system for scheduling all of our activities. We'd be able to bring all those under Bound. And so instead of Lane sending out a spreadsheet to all the coaches that says, okay, here's the activities this week. This is when I have the buses going here, there, and everywhere. And Dan sends out a different spreadsheet that comes from his list that says, okay, here's all the activities that I have going. And then, we can bring it all underneath one, and everybody's working off the same system. There's efficiencies there.
It is something that we, if we're going to, I mean, obviously we're already going this route because we have to, the state requires us to use it in a lot of things. But it does have some really nice features that we're going to do some training this summer. Well, Leah is going to kind of help be involved with it. Obviously myself, the tech guys will have to be involved in some capacity. I don't know, our tech guys are pretty good at what they do, so they probably know a little bit more than what I do about it, but we'll, they will eventually, but they'll be directly involved too, because everything like that, those card readers, it's all got to come through. It's got to be in your server. All those things got to be able to be hooked up to that, so forth, so.
And they supply the.
Yeah, I have one in my office right now. Yeah. We just didn't use, they'll give us 2 for sure. They'll give us 2 for sure. Because like for football, we have 2 gates. So we definitely have to have 2 there. And they did kind of talk about And again, it was larger schools, but they didn't say that they would not give you a third if you needed, if you had some venue.
I'm sure there'll be a fee for. a
Yeah,
third-
and you,
third.
yeah, you might imagine the second one's free, the third one's gonna cost again. I mean, it's cost.
Because that's the same question I have with the concession stand. Be nice if we could get a card reader and we can set the concession stand up like its own admissions gate, right? And granted that transaction is gonna be 90 cents per swipe of the credit card. And so that's the JJ's example, right? So if you're using your credit card, it's 90 cents more to run your credit card than if you're paying cash. So you got two lines, a cash line and a credit card line.
You're suggesting that the concession stand would go through bound also?
I think it's an option.
I'm just.
We're not saying that to start with, but I think that's something that we
Could
would,
lead to that.
could lead to that.
So,
Or square, like Jackie's talking about, or,
From a fee standpoint, that sounds more palatable when you're talking about a $2 or something like that. Nowadays, now it's all of a sudden it's $2.90.
but I don't have to charge $2.90 to everybody, right? That's where I'm saying,
Well,
I can almost have,
those that are going to pay with a credit card.
are gonna have $2.90 versus if I've got my cash.
4% or something like that.
so what questions you have for me, or as far as kind of some of the things that we talked about, or was, I probably wasn't real clear on some things, you know. lightly.
Would you use this for other events like non-athletic, like
Yes.
prom, or not prom, but like grandmas,
Yes.
or like all of those
Yes.
things too?
Yes, you could set it up for any events that you have here.
But only things that are like through the school, not like a PTC event or like Lions Den or,
No, and because
Like other-
those,
because those don't go through you, correct? Okay,
Right.
so it
That
has
would
to
be-
be like
yeah.
a school sponsored.
yes, yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Because I mean, just an
I guess we could
example,
make it work if we had to, we just have to
We could
figure
always-
that out.
Yeah, no,
We're
I
always
mean,
willing to partner.
You know, I would have to just cut the check back. to
I'm just
you.
thinking you would have to train a lot of people to use the machines, because if it's not like a school staff person, if it's like a PTC
Right,
member or
right,
a
yeah.
whoever.
I mean, just an example, Amy, is I know like, next year when the Booster Club runs their little Lions wrestling tournament that they always do, one of the things we're finding out is hardly anybody wants to pay checks anymore. Everybody wants to be able to pay online and so forth, so we're actually, we're gonna run it through the Lions Den program, and then they're just gonna give us a check for the entry fees at the end, just so people can go online and register and have it all done, because that's the most asked question we get at registration. Well, don't you take credit cards? You know, that's,
Yeah,
they'd
we
rather
did
do.
the Lions Den one all through Benville last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, or that you,
But I think it was during COVID is when
Yeah.
we started that.
anyway, so, but no, you can do it like in prom, we could do it in anything that we charge for. It's set up. Because every kid will get those activity tickets. Those activity tickets, we can set it up, so Mrs. Rudd and I talked about this, we could have them scan their activity ticket at every event. Like on an iPad, that's what Lenny has helped, when we do the postseason events, if you've been here, you know, just scan it and you can go on in. If you want to keep track of how many people they have, I mean, you don't have to, the kids still have their activity pass on their phone, they just show it to you, like they do that, you could do that as well yet. But if we would want to track this, actually see how many people are coming and so forth, we could do that. Like I said, just one of those features that if you want to, so.
We do have this as an item under new business, so we can have some discussion as a board then at that point. But I don't think Dan wants to stick around for that. So
Yeah.
any questions you have for him?
Did you want to talk at all about volleyball?
Yes, and the other, and Mr. Dorth, Mr. Dorth, both Mr. Dorth and I have visited with Jamie a little bit, Jamie Shore about volleyball. Jamie has her projected numbers, Mr. Dorth pulled up, that's what she is looking at next year for volleyball, is 42 participants. And she's had, I mean, this isn't a guess, she's had her meeting this spring with going into the summer, and so there's summer camps and the things that, you know, all the coaches have already been working on that. That's what her numbers are, like 42. Both Mr. Droth and I, there's two factors to this. And the first one is 42 is a pretty large number for three coaches to, you know, have to navigate through practices and things. We feel like another coach would be, you know, a welcome addition here, and would be something that would be justified by those numbers. And the second part of that is We have currently Lindsay Hoosman coaches our middle school volleyball. Lindsay is the 7th grade volleyball coach. Lindsay is pregnant, and her due date is the last week of the volleyball season. And she has assured me that she's going to be there through the end. Part of this, if you approve the hiring of the coach, one of the things, and Jamie and I have discussed this, and Jamie is in agreement that whoever this coach is, they would also at least a day or two a week, or part of a day or two of the week, they would go down to the middle school and just get to associate themselves with next year's 7th grade girls. So that if Lindsay would have to go in early, or had some complications where they say, hey, you gotta get off your feet, that coach then would take over those 7th grade games the last week, 2 weeks, 5 days, whatever it might be, 3 games or whatever it would be. So that would give us a backup for that. Because Chris Wright is also down there, but remember when we play volleyball, the 7th grade plays one place, the 8th grade might be playing then at, home. 7th grade, so you gotta have 2 people going, and they vary. I think next year we have maybe 2 of the middle school matches that are actually, here 7th grade here together, otherwise they'll be split sites every time. So that's another factor we're gonna, we have to be aware of that. Now, so this coach, it wouldn't necessarily be, and this is where we've had some discussion with Jamie, it wouldn't necessarily, this is the JV coach, or this is the JVR coach. This person would be in a little bit different role, and obviously we'd be very upfront with them about that when we look to hire someone about, they'd be an assistant to Jamie it might be titled as a varsity assistant coach. But that does mean they're only going to work with the varsity, but the title would be a little bit, and the job description would be something we'd have to kind of sit down and really work through and be very upfront with the candidates on what the expectations were. But this is the largest number that we've had in quite a while. And the volleyball numbers are strong, all in the program, the lower element in the middle school right now for next year and so forth. I don't think that's going to change a whole lot. And this would not necessarily mean, and like I said, if the numbers do drop in a couple of years or 3 years down, then it isn't something like, obviously, we say, you know what, the need isn't there anymore, so we would be very upfront with all the candidates about this. It's not an automatic.
What's your timeline? Getting somebody hired?
Well, we'd like to get someone hired going into the summer, because Jamie does have, they do have volleyball workouts in the summertime, and they have, their camps coming out. Now, they don't go to camp for a while yet. They go to Kansas. They're going to Kansas again this year. There's 2 teams going to Kansas. They won't be going until after softball, so that'll be in July. But they will be doing workouts during and she does have her assistants come in. She does the majority of it, but she does ask for assistants to come in and help with part of it as well. And they do have camps. They have a person like that, a person in camps that they do over the summer and stuff. So, yeah.
How does that compare to like basketball numbers? Like, what do we have for girls basketball?
Basketball, I would say the girls' basketball program is going to be upper 20s.
Okay.
Yeah. We're one of the highest. We have probably the best numbers in the conference, for sure, for basketball.
That's 9th through 12th.
That's not.
So we're just kind of looking for a head nod here, like
Advertise
and
Yeah,
come back and make a formal decision at the hiring process.
At the hiring process.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
And like I said, it'll be a little bit of a different position, as far as won't be the assigned. And we will, like Jamie and I have talked, we will offer this position to the current Kelly Weiler and Megan Witzel, if they would rather do something on this instead of coaching a specific grade. Obviously, we would we would let them, then we would not be hiring a JV coach. Someone would be specifically, they'd be consistent, but their role basically with a JV. So
you're kind of authorizing us to write the job description, advertise internally, see if there's any shuffles, and then if there's not any interest amongst the current coaching staff, then taking it back out.
And when we talk about like the current, we would include our new hires as well in that, because we do have some.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate to have people in this room
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
highly qualified.
Any other questions for me? Like I said, if you do have that question is bound, shoot me an email or stop me or whatever you're on. It's
Thanks to
Thanks,
Dan.
Dan.
Dan's
Thanks,
done
Dan.
a lot of work on this. As you know, or might not know, Dan is one of the only track starters in all of Northwest Iowa. And he was busy 4 nights a week during track season, whether it was middle school, high school. He had Wednesday off. Otherwise, he was at a track meet. And his service to our kids, to all the kids across Northwest Iowa is greatly appreciated. He's going to go to the track meet with the kids and watch. Well, I don't know if he's going with the kids, but he's going to go to the state track
I think
meet.
he works it.
Yeah, I'm working at state traffic.
He'll be there.
He'll be there. So thanks, Dan.
Okay, our last staff presentation, Mr. Jordan, Curtis Even, and
Yes,
Jeff
so
Cruz on the technology budget for next year.
I uploaded the budget here this afternoon. Unfortunately, Curtis and Jeff couldn't make it tonight, but you can see here kind of the breakdown. You guys have seen a similar type of rotational spending plan. Curtis has got, I just printed the 23, 24, but he's got it on a 4-year rotation. You can see the kind of the breakdown based on PC computers, Chromebook computers at the top, and then teacher computers, special ed, pre-K. We are not planning to order any of those. We're in a good spot with each one of those buckets. The middle is more of the software infrastructure, and then the bottom kind of gives you what the current rotation is. So you can see the plan is Chromebooks, new Chromebooks for TK, kindergarten, first grade, so that's the 140 machines. 46 for fourth graders, and then 66 ninth grade machines. Those are the actual laptops. So all in, it's about $150,000 of tech purchases. If you recall, a couple years ago, we transitioned to 7th and 8th graders having Chromebooks, so it's only our high school kids that continue to have the really robust PCs. Otherwise, the infrastructure stuff that's kind of here in the middle is on that rotational spending plan. Jackie, I know you've had multiple conversations with Curtis. Anything else you want to add?
No, it kind of is in line. It's a little higher than what we've spent the last couple of years, but we always know that that's going to happen. You obviously need to get more units, so otherwise it's in line with all of our other years of technology purchases. Nothing out of the ordinary there.
No. I would say the biggest out of the ordinary thing is we're not planning on ordering any new teacher computers. We just feel like the fleet of teacher computers is in a really good spot. And we bought some better machines the last couple of years than we bought previously. They have, as a result, been lasting longer. So
Casino funds? Or out of general funds?
I think we use Pepple if we
yeah, we
can.
moved it from casino into Pepple to free up casino funds for
Other larger
Yep.
projects.
primarily curriculums, but we've been fortunate because of the ESSER dollars that we've been able to use. Yes, so we've had some increased flexibility with casino funds the last couple of years that we haven't in the past. So if you've got specific questions about anything that's on the spreadsheet, reach out to Curtis. He's happy to answer any specific questions.
Fair enough. Move on to principal reports. You want to cover Mr. Harmon's report?
I will just, give you a kind of a quick summary of the summer school. We are starting summer school June 12th, so kids will be done on the 2nd. We'll have PD on the 5th and 6th. The rest of that week, there isn't any kids or staff required to be in the building, and then students will start summer school the week of the 12th. And that's not only our summer reading program, but it's our ELL program, and it's the extended school year for our special education students. So I know Mr. Harmon's working to get kids registered and identify exactly the students that will be involved, but he's given a pretty good detail. Good timing. He's giving you good detail here in regards to exactly what that program, those programs are gonna look like. And then that will run right up to about 4th of July. Take a break, and then our hope is we'll do a kickstart like we've been doing since COVID, the first 2 weeks of August. So before teachers come back for professional development, we'll have another 2-week session of summer school. And then in the action items in the hirings are all the staff members that are going to be involved with summer school. So anything else you want to add as far as summer school, Mr. Harmon?
No, the first portion, we're going to try to partner with the public library downtown Rock Rapids, use their programs as well as our own, just to give that 3 weeks the best we can. And again, get the kids involved in getting books all summer long from there, so.
Remind me what ages it's.
Next year's first grade through fourth grade.
Kindergartners through third
Yeah.
graders.
Yeah.
ELL, summer school is
This-
anybody.
All students who are identified are encouraged to come.
Yep.
We provide transportation for them just to make sure that everyone who can attend will attend.
April Wassenaar kind of taking over the summer school from Sam Cruz. April was involved last couple of years, but she'll be kind of the lead teacher for ELL this summer.
Questions for Steve? Okay, move on to Mr. Engelman. Jason, you want to introduce Sarah?
Yes, so Sarah DeVries, formerly Sarah Hulse, Central Lyon alumni, is here this evening to talk about an exciting new opportunity for our students that we're going to be bringing to the district next semester. It is Central Lyon's CAPS. CAPS stands for the Center for Advanced Professional Studies. So it's kind of an innovative approach to giving kids future-ready career opportunities or career exploration, employability skills, working through value-added projects with business partners. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity for Sarah to come in, kind of springboard into next fall's course description. It's a dual credit option for upperclassmen. It is a course that will be provided off-site, not in the building. Sarah's got some experience in her current position at Boyd Hall. It's actually went to one of their display nights or one of their events. Very cool. Something we've explored for a number of years. Mr. Grillman and I actually went to Kansas City many years ago to do a Blue Caps tour where it originated. And now that we have someone very passionate about it, got some expertise in it, we're excited to bring it to our district. So without further ado, I'm going to let Sarah take over. She's got a little presentation for you. Talk a little about Central Lyon CAPS and moving forward with this project.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. Well, like he said, my name is Sarah DeVries now. About 8 years ago, I was at Central Lyon, and I'm happy to be back come this fall. Something that's unique about CAPS is completely different than any education classroom or program that's ever been before or ever been at Central Lyon. If you look at the board, we are very transparent and very active on social media. So you will see all the onboarding, project partners, guest speakers, tours that we do through social media. So if you want to go to Facebook, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you're able to see what our students at Central Lyon will be doing next fall. So also, if you want more information, the CAPS network, which I'll get to in a second, is made up of 100 programs as of last month. But you can go to your CAPS network, and our Siouxland has our own website as well. So that's just more information if you have any questions following this presentation. So the CAPS stands for Center for Advanced Professional Studies. It started in Kansas City 8 years ago, and since then has just expanded like crazy. So 100 programs now across 138 school districts, 20 states, and 4 countries. Just in the Siouxland, we make up, and we keep growing, about 3 to 4 programs every year. So it is pretty new to the Siouxland. Just 2 years ago, Sioux Center, Sheldon, and MOC started it. Kind of like what Dan said, MOC is always ready to be a guinea pig, but it was a great program and it just took off. If you know Jordan Menning in the community, he is our AA connection and resource, and he kind of leads our Siouxland CAPS program. So CAPS will connect education, business, and the community. It's a different way to look at work-based learning. So like back when I was in high school, I think it was offered, I didn't do it, but you could go do a job shadow and just go and sit at a business and watch what people do every day. The problem with that is we haven't taught kids necessarily how to interact with professionals. We haven't taught them how to ask good questions and what to learn. So what CAPS does is put them in a professional environment that expands those skills, but not sending them off on their own without any training. So CAPS is based on innovation, problem solving, professional skills, and career exploration. We are putting them in authentic learning environments, and they're taking on projects that will make a difference in the community. So they will, or we hope to partner with businesses in our community, and they will give back by completing these projects. And I'll get to those in just a second, but our professional skills, I've been doing CAPS for a year now, and I have teachers at Boyden Hall that will tell me just how well these CAPS associates can communicate. So they'll go up and give a presentation and they are not nervous, they're confident, they're able to articulate what they're talking about, send professional emails, talk to strangers, all these skills that we want to send students out into the real world and do. We just haven't put them necessarily in the right situation to do that. So that's what CAPS is based on, those professional skills, and then also our career exploration. So hopefully, and all of my associates so far, once they leave CAPS, they know exactly what they're going to do. So where we have these students that are undecided, they might go to college, they might not, CAPS really is a time for them to explore and get a good sense of what they want to do, not just sitting at a job shadow and observing someone do it. So they do career exploration by interviewing people in the industry, and because our CAPS network is so big and across the whole world, I had an associate this semester that interviewed someone in New York. So they're very interested in leaving Midwest, and they sat on a Zoom meeting with someone in New York, and it was an ER nurse, and their hope is to someday get to the East Coast and be able to make a difference in the healthcare field. So we're able to make all these connections and build their professional network in a different way than most kids have the opportunity to ever do. So CAPS isn't about a grade, although they do get a grade because they are connected with NCC, so they get 3 college credits, work-based learning college credits. But they will get a grade at the end of it, but it's based on their growth. So where they start in their professional skills, career exploration, problem solving, passion, that sort of thing, that's their grade is based on where they start and where they end. So the growth in all of this, and we don't necessarily give grades out for the stuff they do day to day. They just get that final grade on their growth and kind of the impact that they had in their CAPS. So on the presentation, you can see kind of our mindset. We just want to build them to be professionals that are prepared for what's ever next. And that's not just be a good nurse, be a good teacher. It's, I want to give back to my community. They'll be doing volunteer hours. So just like our school board members, you know, volunteer is not just going and serving at a food pantry. It's actually being active in your community. So we're kind of putting those different concepts right now in the time of the seniors. So, like I said before, the top 3, they started our programs in the Siouxland. This year, Boyden Hall, West Sioux, Cherokee, and Sibley, we added on to Siouxland CAPS. Next year, Ridgeview, Hinton, Central Lyon, and South O'Brien will also be adding CAPS, and then MMCRU also decided that they're going to add as well. So you can see that all these schools find value in this. Like Jason has observed at our showcase, you can tell that these associates are going through different training. They're able to shake Jason's hand, make small talk about their project to all these strangers. So it's a great community or a great collaborative time together. We do a lot of shared events, so we all come together with all of our associates and they get to know each other. We do shared events in their onboarding. I'll talk about their semester right here. So I talked about how it's a lot different than a normal classroom. So I'm not going to stand in the front and lecture them all day long and have them do some sort of formative assessment and make sure that they understand what they're doing. It is a very different setup to the semester. So it's a semester class. They start with a design sprint that puts a lot of pressure on them. They get a problem. So this is a shared event. They get a problem from a community member. Last year was a blood bank, and they said, how can we get more people to give blood? So that's the problem that they proposed with the Lyon CAPS associates. They took 2 days to research, come up with a solution, and then present and pitch their idea to this blood bank company. So there's a panelist. I got to go in on there and then got to watch them, and they actually took one of the ideas and then moved forward with it. So they're doing this authentic learning, giving back to their community, all through, just a simple design sprint and great partnership. So they start with the design sprint, then we go through a month of onboarding where we do a behavioral assessment, the DISC assessment. Does anyone do the DISC assessment or have done it?
I'm done.
Okay. Yep. So they do the DISC assessment. We talk a lot about that, on how they should communicate to different people and their behaviors, what type of work styles they might like, and what type of careers might match up with their behaviors. We talk about Agile Scrum. Has anyone heard about Agile Scrum before? So Agile Scrum is a project management tool, and it basically keeps everyone in a team accountable. So it is a great way to actually teach people how to be a part of a team. A lot of times we give students 3 people to work with, and there's always one that just doesn't do anything. Agile Scrum keeps them all accountable, assigns who's going to do what, and it's a great tool to kind of bring associates together and everyone has an impact. They do leadership training. This is mostly done at Northwestern with their marketing professor, and she goes through, now that you know a little bit about yourself, you know how to work in a team, now we're going to practice it. And that's a really fun activity for our associates. And then the last thing would be our servant leadership. So we bring in people that work at nonprofits that kind of give back to the community. And then our associates do about 5 to 10 hours of volunteering during the semester. So that's the first semester, or first month. And then after that, they are put into groups. So I had 8 associates this semester, 2 groups. And then based on their skills and their expertise, they are assigned to a project. So one project that I had, Hull is celebrating their 150th celebration this summer, and they wanted more teenagers to be active in the events that they held. So my associates, there were 4 of them, they planned an event, made the marketing, made the advertisements, found volunteers, contacted everyone that would be impacted by this event, and they have already 10 teams signed up for the event. So that was their project, and it took about 3 months, but they're doing something that's authentic. So I had evaluations with them today, and they said, you could give us a grade for this, or you could not, but we had to get this done for our client. So they're the ones calling the client, they're the ones running the meetings, they're put in situations that they're the professional, and I'm just helping them along. So they grow so much in just being able to have a client and have a project that they're able to work on. Intermixed in the project time is where they do their career exploration, and then they're also building their network. So once a week, I brought in a business professional in Hull or Boyden, or we did a tour at a business. So along with their career exploration that they have to do on their own, I'm also setting them up with a network. Through one conversation, our associate got a summer job just because she learned more about an industry in the community, and then they set her up with a job interview a week later. So we're building their network so that they're able to leave and do that on their own as well. That's what the semester looks like. Another thing that is very different is we will be in DGR for the fall semester. A reason why we do this, we take them out of the classroom and we put the pressure of, you have to go to a professional environment, you have to dress up, and we talk about what dress up means. Okay, dress up looks a lot different nowadays than it used to. But wearing a collar, wearing professional dress, talking in a professional way, having professional behavior, and then being able to be on time is kind of the whole idea of having a host site. So we're putting them in a professional behavior or professional environment, because if I just sat here and told you what to dress like to be a professional, you wouldn't understand, or you won't have the pressure to do it unless I actually put you into a professional setting. So we're looking for a spring host site, if anyone has any ideas as well, but we'll be in DGR, one of their conference rooms it's 2 periods a day, so 7th and 8th period at Central Lyon will be at DGR, and the associates will meet there every day. We're not working for DGR, and we're not necessarily doing projects for them. We're simply just meeting there as like a business and working for projects in the community.
And it rotates, like you said,
Yes, each semester.
so.
Yep.
You're already recruiting.
Yes, I am. So another way that we partner with businesses in the community, and that's something that the handout that says handshakes, not handouts. We are constantly going to be looking for projects. So what projects can look like is, if you look at the board 1 through 10, thinking about everything that needs to be done, maybe in the next year or 5 years out of business. Our sweet spot for CAPS would be the 8, 9, and 10. So we don't necessarily want to do research that you need like the next month. Like, we want to be able to help you with how do we best recruit, Central Lyon alumni to come back to Central Lyon. Okay, that might be something that a CAPS group could help do the research, give a proposal, reach out to alumni, ask them questions, do surveys, all the stuff that maybe the businesses don't necessarily have the time or the people to do. So we are the low priority on the to-do list, but businesses are constantly asked to give to Central Lyon, give to school districts all the time. This is our chance to finally give back to the community, do stuff for the community, impact the community, build a network. If I were to meet someone in the community and now I've made that connection 5 years later, maybe I'll come back and work for you. So this is a huge benefit for students. They're making those connections. They find a lot of value in these projects. They have real clients. They're not getting it done because I told them to. They're getting it done because they don't want to, disappoint their client. It also helps with the development, building them as a professional, and then discovering kind of what their passion lies. So instead of being, really focused, like, I'm a senior, I know I want to be a teacher. Okay, that's not necessarily realistic. I didn't want to be a teacher, but here I am. So we're discovering their passion through like their work style. Do they want to work remotely? Do they like working in groups? Do they like working online? The kind of work that they do almost makes more of a difference than just kind of the industry that they're going into. Last couple things I want to show. Forbes did an article on CAPS and the CAPS network a couple weeks ago. Basically, if you look at these numbers, every associate every semester in the whole CAPS network gets a survey, and they have to say kind of how they felt before the semester started and after in their confidence level for these professional skills. So for the first one, their professional communication, 14%, so about 1 of every 10 students did not feel felt confident in communication. By the end of their experience, 8 out of the 10 felt confident in communication. So just the 4, and there was a whole list of them, but just the 4 that have the biggest jump is the communication skills. If you talk to any business, any industry, any adult, they're going to say that kids need to learn how to communicate. Well, this is the chance for them to do that. I don't think I was a very good communicator when I was in high school, even leaving high school. And if I would have had this opportunity, I think it would have helped me, be more outgoing, be able to give presentations better, kind of jumpstart my future as an educator. So career awareness, collaborating on a team, that's another thing. They have to be able to work with people. And yeah, students just aren't doing a great job at that right now. So being able to give them the opportunity to do that is awesome. And then the last thing would be positively respond to a mistake. They are being put under pressure. I had an associate that their client told their group, I think you guys could do a lot more. And they really took that to heart and were really upset. And then they did a lot more. Okay, so coming from a real life client, that's an authentic learning experience, is a lot different than a teacher saying you can do a lot more. The last thing is just testimonies from some associates and some business partners in the area.
So was that progress there? Was that kind of the progress that they get graded on? Was from their ability to do that? So
their grading, there are 5 employability skills from the state of Iowa, and their growth meeting those standards is how they'll get graded. Okay. So if you have any understanding of kind of how standard-based learning works, that's kind of the concept. Second one,
We're gonna try.
okay. Yep.
Oh.
It's already been done.
I can email it to him too.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
Sorry. I think we're just tying it to the feed for the live stream.
Oh, that's right. Basically, this video is gonna talk about some of the associates, their growth, and what they valued most about their experience. An administrator talks about how they can see the difference in the associates. They're able to talk to an administrator in the eyes, ask them how they're doing, make small talk. And then some of the business partners being able to, see the difference and actually see the work that they're doing for their companies. So, cool. Any questions?
We're very lucky to have Sarah. She's obviously passionate about it. She hasn't even started here, and look at all the work that she's already got ready for us. Welcome back.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Well, if you ever have projects or a host site or follow us on social media, find out what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Jordan, we'll move on to your reports.
Bet. So first wanted to just kind of update everybody on the bus barn. I included a couple documents. Matt's got the fee proposal for forward. I've attached that, and then the updated timeline. I will tell you on Friday, they did the soils analysis out at the FFA farm. Kind of preliminary report was, things are pretty straightforward out there. And so Matt's gonna really dig into that when it comes to the utilities now. So there's nothing really unknown about the soil out there. So again, continue to be transparent with the city, BGR, to get all the surveys and all the kind of meets and bounds descriptions worked out. So once he's kind of compiled that, we'll get the Buildings and Grounds Committee back together with our internal team to really dig into that, the results of that study. And then by our next board meeting, whether it's the second Monday, which is June 12th, the hope is to have that cost comparison between the FFA property versus our current bus barn facility. So that then the board can have a more detailed conversation about where we're going with the project. And again, by October, you would have those plans and specs back to the board for consideration, whatever site it is, and whatever building materials, so we stay within the budget that we're comfortable with. And hopefully put those out to bid to be received by November, so that we can begin in the spring of the 2024 with construction.
Considering that agreement's item 4 under new business.
Correct. So that's the update on the FFA plot, the bus barn. Teacher leadership. Giving you kind of a summary of our current teacher leadership, the budget, and then as the teacher leaders that are currently teacher leaders, the administrators, we looked at that because we've had a handful of teacher leaders that have fallen off that we just haven't replaced. I think Sue Van Wine, Jerry Poletsky, Denise McCarty is transitioning off. We've really looked at what that teacher leadership program may look like going forward, knowing that we have some increased flexibility with teacher leadership thanks to the voucher bill. And so maintaining our current teacher leaders listed here, whether they're instructional coaches, our secondary kind of model teachers is what we've called them in the past, our elementary grade level teacher leaders, but then adding some additional folks so that we've got in the high school, for example, an English rep, somebody from the career and technical education, special education departments. At the elementary level, right now, we currently only have like a lower elementary teacher leader and an upper elementary teacher leader. Expanding that so we've got more people representing more grade levels. Some district teams like our specials, so art, music, and PE, K-12. Computer science, tech ed, similar. And then our student social emotional learning and our staff wellness would be a new category. But we have people serving in these roles currently that are not getting paid. For example, we've got a PBIS Tier 1 leader. We've got a PBIS Tier 2 leader. Right now, they're not getting any sort of compensation for that, running those meetings, facilitating the conversations in those meetings, or collecting the data and making sure that the team has what they need to move forward. We have had, and we always have had, mentors and mentees, but you can see that list is quite extensive. And so, again, I've given you all the budget numbers. Based upon the levels and all the stipends that I've listed above, our estimates to spend about $300,000, and that's all in salaries, benefits, etc. Our allocation next year will be about $280,000. Again, it's tied to the per pupil funding. We have a carryover right now of about $100,000. So even though we're overspending next year by about $20,000, that categorical fund is still going to maintain its level.
So this is money from the state that you get that's dedicated just for this or whatever, so it's.
Yep, it's those categorical funds.
So this says 280,000 for next year, what do we receive so far?
268, 268.
It's not expanding significantly.
It went up the same 3%, because it's tied to the per pupil funding.
It's based on our enrollment and then the per pupil. Yep. So it will only go up as much as state, like
State aid.
alone will grow.
And then if we have fewer students at count day, then this is gonna be impacted.
So if our funding doesn't increase significantly, I'm not making the connection of how we can
Sustain it.
or double our staff that gets a compensation for being in a leadership position if we're not getting many more dollars. That's what I'm confused about.
How can we do that?
How can we-
So the levels that we've had currently have been paid at a higher, or like our teacher leader levels, other than our instructional coaches.
Sure.
Have been paid at a higher rate.
Okay, so
Our model teachers, our lead teachers, those positions have been paid at a higher rate previously. So I did give you the kind of the history of the current versus
so
what
these,
this
of
is.
all these additional positions won't necessarily all be paid at that same rate.
As they have been in the past, correct. So going forward, that's something that we're gonna have to continue to monitor. If our enrollment declines, or if the state all of a sudden says, we're not gonna fund TLC, then we're gonna need to reimagine TLC again in the future.
So the people who are currently doing it will get a decrease in what they're making, or they will stay the same?
So our instructional coaches are the same. Oops. Some of these folks,
But some of the ones that were already current TLC members, that's what
See,
they're currently making, or that's what they will make with the new one?
this is what they're gonna make with the new one.
Okay, and they currently make more than that?
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
And then those on the right for all the new positions would be the eligible people that would become quote unquote teacher leaders. Job descriptions, as you can see, have been included. Really, you're looking at the job summary. The essential duties and responsibilities are the same. The content team leader, again, is a secondary, a 7 through 12 representative, representing math, science, English, social studies, CTE, special education. Grade span, again, preschool, TK, kindergarten would have a rep. First and second grade would have a rep. Third and fourth grade would have a rep. Fifth and sixth grade. So they're representing those grade levels. On Wednesdays, when we have early dismissal, they would be leading those teams of teachers on Wednesday afternoon in their early dismissal teacher collaboration time. Social emotional learning, again, at the elementary level, targeted those PBIS teams. Secondary level, Jason's implementing Character Strong with the 7th and 8th grade next year. He's also been utilizing restorative practices. He's had people that have been trained, that multiple people that could apply for this teacher leadership role.
So they apply.
Yep.
And then, so is this is in addition to their
Teaching.
current salary or teaching or whatever, okay, and then, so is this extra time that they put in outside of a normal
Yep.
day then to fulfill whatever
Days
these-
and or hours tied to each.
So then you'll come back to the board in the future with those recommendations.
Exactly. If you're not comfortable with the budget, then we set a different number. But the roles ultimately are what we want to change. We want to have more teacher leaders. We want to have more people in Mr. Harmon's elementary leadership team meeting than 5 people right now. Mr. Engelman's got 3 teacher leaders right now. We want to bring more teacher leaders into that conversation to plan PD, to discuss the events that are coming up, and share those opportunities to lead their peers.
And the one thing to note is the 3,500, for instance, that stays the same. So that doesn't get the typical raise that a salary would get. So that would help with that budget as well. So if it's 3,500 this year, it's typically 3,500 the next year.
We haven't increased or decreased any of the teacher leadership stipends since it was built.
Inception, correct. And that's what then the committee would need to revisit again in the future and bring back to you if those aren't sufficient, and we discuss it
Their
again.
annual appointments.
They're annual appointments, correct?
That's why I bring them to you every,
Yeah.
So if the budget changes, then we just have to make an adjustment next year. The state funding
if the state all of a sudden says we're not gonna fund teacher leadership, which
reimagine part 2.
reimagine part 2.
Correct.
So I don't know what they currently get, like as a current TLC member, but I mean, is it gonna upset the people that are currently TLC members by cutting that? Or that's,
I can send you exactly what everybody's getting. Like I said, what I'm really looking for is authorization to reimagine and add these positions in a different role. You want to see the breakdown of who's making what? I can send you the breakdown of who's making what. So it's a side-by-side 22, 23 versus what 23, 24 is going to be projected for.
I'm just thinking of people, I mean, I know that's not part of their like salary, but if someone's planning on making X amount this year and then it looks like a decrease, you know, I just.
All right, moving on. Shared social worker. So personnel committee met, we had a really robust conversation about a lot of different topics. And one of those topics that we talked about at last meeting was the potential of adding a middle school counselor. You know, just kind of the timing of the year being late in that hiring process. We just felt like this wasn't the time to add or recruit a school counselor. Knowing that we've had some other options. Option one was trying to maybe increase the number of days that we have the outside counseling services from Creative Living. Right now, we've got a counselor that comes from Rock Valley once a week, serves approximately 20, 25 students, depending upon the time of the year, but only sees those students once a week at most, maybe once a month, depending upon the need of the student at that particular time. Option two is a shared social worker. AEA has those positions and similar type of setup where the shared social worker oftentimes works in multiple districts. And in my conversations with Dan Cox at the AEA, they have the opportunity to add Central Lyon to a current sharing agreement. So right now, West Lyon currently has a shared social worker, but need from Rock Valley, George Little Rock, and us is an opportunity to join that shared social worker. So you can see there's a sharing agreement as a new business item. If you're comfortable with that sharing agreement that's included, we could begin that process. The AEA's already approved that sharing agreement. If the board tonight approves that, we would also participate. And we can begin that interviewing process with the AEA, knowing that they've already got a pool of shared social workers that they already currently employ. Okay, so the other thing with the shared social worker position, the state funds that through supplemental funding. We generate additional funding that would offset any costs that we would see. Much like we share transportation director, we generate funding, supplemental funding doesn't pay for the entire salary, but we do generate sharing dollars because of that.
So were the initial discussions to hire a full-time?
No.
No.
A shared, so we would.
Originally, it was a shared middle school counselor?
No, originally, we were having conversations about adding a full-time middle school counselor.
I guess my question then leading into that is, if we're going from full-time down to 1 day a week, is that enough time to have that person in, or is 1 day enough?
I think we would love to have somebody all day, every day as a counselor.
Okay.
I think the challenge is finding that person at this point in the school year.
And there
To be essential.
budget. What's that? Yes.
And the budget,
And the budget.
exactly.
That person's gonna come with some pretty licensure and expertise.
I guess I'm just trying to figure out, what is the actual need?
Let Mr. Harmon and Mr. Engelman kind of, I think the need exists for whether it's social emotional learning, whether it's the mental health, increased mental health needs that we have from our kids. I think Mrs. Gerber and Mrs. Harmon do an excellent job, but I think they're stretched pretty thin. Now, are they doing a good job this year? Will they do a good job next year in their current roles? Definitely. But I think they have different skill sets than maybe what the need of a 5 through 8 middle school counselor could bring to the table. Again, an elementary school counselor that does a lot of different things than what Mrs. Harmon does with 9 through 12. Similar, they're overlapping 7th and 8th grade, middle school kids, 5th and 6th grade. If we're able to get that, a middle school counselor eventually, that would be the best case scenario. But we haven't necessarily budgeted for it. And the point in the year probably wasn't the best time to bring that to the board for recruiting.
So what do we feel like this person coming in 1 day per week? How is that gonna help? Like, what will they be able to, maybe relieve Mrs. Gruber from, or Mrs.
Yep, I think
Harmon from?
I think ultimately the social worker is different than a counselor, right? So the social worker is going to be the person that's going to be working with some of our most challenging students that have a variety of different needs. It could be because they're involved in the juvenile court system, and Jeff Jager might be working with them on the juvenile court side, but you know what? You need additional social services, whether it's help, food assistance that's in the community, whether it's counseling services, getting to and from those counseling appointments. Parents can't take off work, that social worker could help with that. A social worker has a network of community connections that's maybe beyond what Mrs. Harmon or Mrs. Gerber have. So the social worker has a different skill set than a school counselor does. And I would say it's probably closer to what Jeff Jager's doing in his role as a juvenile court liaison officer than a school counselor. But as we all know, Jeff Jager does a lot of counseling on top of juvenile court work that he does. Anything you guys want to add about social worker and your understanding of the work a social worker might do for kids or staff?
In talking with other school districts, social work aspect is that family connection. The counselor works with more of the individual student and then, still communicates with the family. That social worker tries to help as a family unit instead of our student.
We had some correspondence either in last month's board packet or the month before about the statistics on that, right? About where we land as far as
The ratios.
the ratios of our
Yep.
staff versus students, and we were on the low end, right?
Well, our counselors are serving about 400 students, if you're just thinking
Yeah.
holistically. The recommendation from like the Iowa Counseling Association is no more than 300 kids per counselor. So that's where the need maybe comes in, is what those professional associations are telling us. They're stretched pretty thin. What I will tell you in reality is, schools our size probably have 2 counselors. But people have, since the pandemic, been adding or trying to add school counselors to reduce the ratio because the need has grown. Anything else you want to add, Commissioner?
No, I think you
Engelmann?
guys explained it pretty well. I see this individual more mimicking what Jeff Jager does necessarily than what Jessica and Kate do, but I think back to Scott's original question, the need is always going to exist. It's whether or not we can budget it correctly. I think we got to do a lot more legwork. Just throw it in here in the spring session. So, but the need's always going to exist. The kids, they need an outlet, and it's stretching our counselors thin, it's stretching the administration thin a little bit. We'll continue to do the work that we do, but even having someone for 1 day is better than no days. So
It's just kind of maybe a bridge to.
A bridge is a
what-
good way to think of it.
what we might ideally want.
I mean, even in the last, just because I had to help Mr. Jager, even in the last month and a half, we've had 3 families that we were trying to help set up with programs to cover rent, cover heating, cover food, for just to get by for a little bit. And so that's where I think that this person is someone that will have that connection. I'm just going off of people that I know in the community and can call and say, what do I do? So,
So this sounds like it's not necessarily even a counseling position. We were originally talking about adding a full-time counselor to go 5 through 8.
Mhm.
This is something completely different than that, from what I'm hearing.
It's not completely different.
But
I would say these
But maybe-
two guys and the counselors and Jeff as an at-risk team are providing these social
Yeah.
services. This person's gonna have, hopefully, like Mr. Harmon's talking about, more of that family community connection.
so where I'm going with this is, it sounds like if we approve this and have this person start next year, we may get to a point where we say, yes, this is a valuable position, maybe in addition to a counselor, a third counselor for to sort of 5 through 8.
Yep.
If there's a need for the social work type of activities to occur, that sounds like it's something not completely different, but somewhat different, at least, than what a counselor would do.
Especially if it generates sharing
Sure,
incentives too.
sure.
And it could go the opposite way too, where this person gets hired and it ends up helping out more than we expect and we determine we don't need a school counselor. Right.
Exactly.
Awesome.
We can have more discussion during the action item there, but just wanted to kind of give you a preview. And then just wanted to remind everybody that students' last day will be June 2nd, will be a 1:15 dismissal. Tomorrow is our seniors' last day. Jason already discussed, we'll have senior awards day, give away a lot of money to our graduates. And then Friday is our preschoolers' last day. And they'll have their commencement exercises Friday night. So a lot of things going on this week. Teachers' last day will be June 6th. So we'll have 2 days of professional learning, really focused around our math adoption. But we will have plenty of activities for our non-math teachers, especially 5th grade through 12th grade. We just met today with the AEA, kind of our AEA representative, and she's provided some additional resources and opportunities for learning for our non-math teachers on the 5th and 6th. Learner assistants are always welcome to attend those full day, but they are not required to be here. Those that want to learn about the math curriculum can come and learn about the math curriculum. Those that want to participate in our various sessions that are not math focused are welcome to join us.
Assuming we pay them.
Yep.
If they turn in hours and approve with their building principal, definitely.
Okay, move on to number 5,
Yes.
board committee reports.
Personnel committee met. We talked primarily about support staff wages, leader salaries, insurance, all 3 action items. Later in the meeting, Amy, Dave, if there's anything that you want to preview or just wait until we have the conversation.
No, the other thing that we did discuss, however, was
Yep.
evaluation as well. We have agreed to, I'd say not this meeting, but delay it into some point in the future, whether that's a June board meeting or a special meeting between now and the end of June, which we're going to get to before the end of June.
Yep.
So. think about that as well.
Policy, or excuse me, buildings and grounds. We had that coordination meeting. If you've been following on the Facebook page, we've been trying to take some pictures of the work that's already started. They're planning to actually pour concrete tomorrow at the activity center. So it's moving very quickly in the parking lot. So 6:45 this morning, I took a video of one of the Vanderwent sons, working already. So they hit the ground running a week and a half ago, and I've been doing a great job. And so Sioux Concrete will be pouring concrete tomorrow. They were setting footings or all their coordination yesterday or this afternoon. So the notes from that pre-conference meeting, the revised drawings are included. So again, like I said, Matt's working, now that he's got the soils assessment, he's been in contact with Gary Kurt. We'll have to set up a committee meeting between now and our June meeting to kind of review his initial plans and kind of talk through all the specifics. So that when we do get together in here, we've got a better idea, answer everybody's questions. Policy committee, we met, kind of went through the primers. They're in our packet for a first reading. We didn't do all the items that are in the primer, simply knowing that this legislative session's impacted some of those policies. So instead of updating the policies that we know are gonna change again this summer, we're just gonna wait. And then the policy committee referred a handful of policies to the finance committee because they dealt specifically with finance topics. Anything to add, Andy or Amy? So in that finance committee, we continue to wait for the audit from the FY22. Those are the 4 policies we'd like the finance committee to take a look at, kind of referred from the policy committee. Our hope is we can talk to somebody from the auditor's office and try to figure out when that might happen, and then go through the audit and then go through these finance policies at the same time. If we don't get any communication from the auditor, we can't nail them down on when they might be done. We might just have to meet and talk about these things. So the purchasing, the 70501, those purchasing items really came out of our food service site visit. You know, right now, kind of the threshold starts at $5,000 for purchasing. Then it goes to $10,000, then it goes to $25,000. After our food service site visit, whether it's food costs or whether it's equipment costs, kind of the recommendation from that process is re-examine those thresholds, because you really can't buy much when it comes to all the food and the equipment that we're buying for our food service. Otherwise, we'll be having to come to the board every time we want to purchase something. So they've got some recommendations. I'll give that to you guys so that we can have a conversation around that. So that's kind of finance committee. And then Carrie, I know you were at the foundation meeting. Anything that you wanted to update the board on?
They talked about the big project ideas, and I don't know if they contacted you, or has anybody said anything to you?
I haven't got official word or
Okay.
that anything was approved or.
Okay, so, yeah, we are meeting, I got short at the end, so it went rather quickly the last few minutes, and I'm always last on their agenda, so, we didn't really discuss how that was getting handled, but they, would like to support the math purchases and with the manipulatives and the online. So that's what they have $10,000 to go towards that.
That's kind of the indication that I had, and informally with Matt Odakoven, who's the president right now,
Yeah.
is they were kind of leaning towards, since we've got this big math adoption, the foundation would also support kind of the bells and whistles, so to speak, with the math program.
Yeah.
So we appreciate whatever they ultimately decide that is the top priority.
Yeah, they like having items to help in the classrooms. So they appreciate having the boards and things like that, we can showcase those, but they really like the classroom when they can get into our classrooms and help out that way. That's something they like to support.
Yeah. So thanks for your service on that committee, Carrie. I know it's an additional meeting, but Foundation's given, what, 10 or 15 scholarships tomorrow, so.
And all of our Lyon grants.
Flying grants, yeah, it's just, they're pouring a lot of money back into the kids and the teachers. That's it for
Okay.
committees.
We'll move on to old business. So we have two tabled items there. The first was the save bond terms, which we're not ready to act on yet. But the second one is the consideration of approval of next year's school calendar, which we are ready to discuss. So if we can get a motion to take that from the table for discussion.
I'll make a motion to take that off the table.
Second.
We have a motion and second to take discussion of next year's school calendar off the table. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, Mr. Jordan?
Yeah, as the kind of description says here, Amy, Dave, Lenny, Jessica Harmon, and Melissa Lockey and I met on the 17th, kind of as an ad hoc committee after our conversation a month ago. The revisions are included and kind of spelled out, and then a new copy of the proposed revised calendar is included and was included. I think it was a good, healthy conversation Amy and Dave and the teachers and I had. So I think there's some compromise there that's meaningful for everybody involved, and really the same basic structure of the calendar continues. Anything that either one of you guys want to add, or Lenny, that you might want to add as the kind of teacher rep?
They had questions.
We pretty much maintain the same schedule for the makeup snow days.
Yep.
And agreeing that we would make that decision at least 1 week prior to that potential makeup day.
Just curious, since this was kind of something new and I wasn't at the last meeting, and so maybe it was discussed, I can't remember, I did watch the meeting back, but with these built-in days, how does that, with the teachers, kind of a concern that I have with that, I like the idea, but just my concern with teachers is how do they know if they can plan to have that day off or not, or how are we handling
Yes,
that?
Lenny.
For the built-in days that
Yeah.
we would have, so for, example, if our first built-in snow day would be
Friday, the December 22nd.
the 22nd, so, the example that Mr. Jorth put in was, say we make it football again. And so we need to make that day up. You would know right away that we're having that. But what we came to as a compromise is on the December, on the 21st, we could go all day to our 3:15, we'd be here till 4. But then on the 22nd, we would have our 1:15 out. And so that was a compromise deadline with the teachers, just to make sure that, we'll know way in advance if we have to make this up and what.
Well, we wouldn't necessarily if it was like a snow day in December, right? What's the timeline?
1 week.
1 week.
1 week,
So say we have a snow day on the 5th. We would make that up. But say we don't have any snow days till February, then it's day off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So the
I
bigger concern here
totally
is
understand.
how does the staff plan for
Yeah.
the 22nd of December? Can I plan to take that, not be here that day, or do I have to, should I
Yeah.
plan for it to be here until, a week before is really only the
Yeah,
time when they can say, okay, I'm free, I know I have that day off for sure.
right. That's exactly kind of what I'm wondering, how do we, a teacher puts in, well, they wouldn't put in a request because they think they have the day off, and then all of a sudden, a week before, we have that snow day. Well, now we have school. but I had plans to be gone with family, you know, how many of that, how do we handle that?
I did bring that up, but Lenny made it sound like they all will just plan to be here on those days.
Will
is
plan
what
to be there
I was
because
told.
it's kind of really frowned upon to take off the last day of school. It's very frowned upon for you unless you're doing something huge like 30th anniversary, your husband's taking you on a whirlwind trip somewhere. And you've made plans for something.
You talking to me?
You got a great husband.
Talk to my
Yeah. That, we all know we're here. Very seldom does anyone take a day off before school. Just know, I mean, you're gonna be here the last day of school, and you're gonna be here the day before Thanksgiving, the day before a winter break, you know, spring break. We're here for the kids. So I don't know of the teachers that we talked with, another teacher here, that it was, that in our group that we talked with, that came to us, that wouldn't be a problem with anyone.
Again, when we built this schedule, starting back in January or February, you know, I don't think the committee thought there would be support for built-in snow days. But as they took that calendar back to their teams or their hallway, and they looked at it and they said, well, I can guarantee for the most part that I'm gonna be done before Memorial Day. I trade the built-in snow days for being done before Memorial Day. That, I think, was,
The being done on Wednesday, I mean, it's like, oh, yeah, that we're not gonna be here till June 7th. Yeah, that is.
I think that was the bigger
big
selling
thing.
point. Then what am I gonna do if I made plans to be gone on April 1st, the Monday after Easter, and now all of a sudden we've had multiple snow days.
Mhm.
I'd rather, as a teacher, capture the day in the middle of the year than just tack the days on the end of the year
Yeah.
and have to come back after Memorial Day.
I totally understand that, so I totally get that fact of it, I just,
So from a teacher's perspective, staff's perspective, they're kind of gonna have to plan to be here on those
Yeah, that's-
potential makeup days.
yeah,
And if we don't have to make it up,
Right.
it's a bonus day.
It's a bonus day.
so they can make a last minute decision to go somewhere then or
I mean,
whatever.
who's gonna argue, speaking out of school, you know, no pun intended, but, who's gonna argue about having extra day?
Right.
We were just hoping we do not have a winter like we did this year.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think the big takeaway there is the C word, compromise.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good discussion with everybody, from what I understand.
Yeah, I think it's worth giving it, so I'm just curious how that would work, but I think let's give it a try and see how it goes, so.
Sure. Any more questions for Mr. Joy or any committee members? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve that when you're ready.
Make a motion to approve the calendar as listed for 2023-24.
We have a motion and second to approve the 2023-2024 school calendar as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to new business. First item, consider resolution for the sale of the industrial tech house.
Resolved that the hearing of the sale of the student construction house located at 400 South 7th Avenue was held on the 16th of May. The high bid of $156,000 is hereby accepted by the board of directors for the property, and the resolution has been signed by the buyer, Tyler and Kelsey Hofer. On this day, along with the signature of the board president and board secretary. President and secretary are authorized to execute any and all documents necessary to complete the transaction. The funds from the sale of this house shall be returned to the account from which the funds were expended. This resolution is adopted on the 16th day of May, 2023.
Any roll call?
I need a motion?
Motion
Roll
second?
call?
Roll
Yep.
call. Okay. We get a motion and second to approve that unless we want to discuss more.
I'll make a motion to approve the sale of the industrial tech.
We have a motion and second to approve the resolution as presented.
Jans? Postma?
Aye.
Harder?
Aye.
Davis?
I,
Coop?
Okay, move on to item 2, consider support staff wages for 23-24.
The model and kind of the breakdown of each staff members included for your guys' review. But kind of in general, we went with a longevity model. Those with more than 15 years will receive $1 raise, 5 to 15, 75 cents, and 0 to 5 or 4%, which for most people is a little over 50 cents per hour. And then, in addition, the insurance support staff will also have the insurance high deductible plan if approved later, and the contributions to the HSA are as listed. Anything to add, Amy or Dave?
Questions, discussion? I'll entertain a motion. You ready?
Make a motion to approve the support staff wages.
A motion and second to approve the sports staff wages as presented for 2024. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Item 3, consider leadership salaries.
Again, you've got the spreadsheet kind of reviewing that. Majority of the leaders will be receiving 4% raise. We see those that have slightly different. And my salary is not included, won't be included until after my evaluation. So, again, Amy or Dave, have anything that you guys want to add?
No, most of the justifications are listed in the spreadsheet. Or they're 4%. So.
Questions, discussion? Take a motion when you're ready.
Make a motion to approve the leadership salaries as presented.
A motion and second to approve the leadership salaries for next year as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item 4, consider the project fee proposal from FEH Design from Matt Basie for the redesign.
Yeah, very similar to our previous agreement with Matt, just kind of updating and listing the projects and the scope specifically. Excuse me, the fees are not to exceed 33,500 for kind of revising the drawings. If they're lower than 3350, then obviously will be billed at that appropriate.
So it'll be, once we get those cost differences, that comes back to the board goes to buildings and grounds and then that's
For the buildings and grounds, this just is authorizing Matt to do the work that he's said he's gonna do. Based on the same timeline that I already kind of discussed in the report section.
Any questions on that? Take a motion when you're ready.
Make a motion to approve the fee proposal from FEH.
I'll second.
A motion and second to approve the fee proposal from FEH for the redesign and rebidding. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to item 5. Consider change order for additional concrete at the activity center, track football field, and high school.
So as we walk the property with Gary, Kurth, and Tyler from Vanderwent, who's kind of the project manager on their behalf, Steve Bresky kind of pointed out some additional spots. You can see Gary's given us an estimate based upon the unit fee cost for the concrete. And so it's really just concrete work. It's a little less than $30,000 for all these different improvements. First and foremost to the sidewalk circle. You were to walk that, you'll see that the rebar is starting to come through that first kind of 4-foot section of concrete. So it, again, indication that it's kind of at its end of life. That's that $8,000. $4,600 is from the circle down the sidewalk, the ADA parking there. It's just kind of again, a 90s design for that is not good on the snow removal equipment. So that's where Steve Bresky was saying, be nice to save on our snow removal equipment and kind of bring that to a better, more user-friendly for our ADA parking. The kind of driveway by the industrial tech shop, all that concrete is just, it's taken a beating here in this winter specifically, but that's the largest one site, 11,350. Then down at the activity center, Steve would like to have some additional concrete right next to the building for a bike rack. Sidewalk replacement along Story Street. As we walk that, a lot of the sections of the concrete are just really broken up. And then $1,500 for an approach by the tennis courts. We've got a concrete approach kind of on the south side here, but that would be an additional path that would actually be closer to the path that's going to get you to the ticket booth. So again, if you've been to our Friday night football games, we have people that park all the way up here at school, but then we've got cars that go all the way around the neighborhoods. And there's really two places to get, right now, there's only one place to get somebody in a wheelchair. This would be adding a second for $1,500. The entire intent, again, is ADA accessibility down there.
Well, it was just a few years ago where we put in accessibility down to the concession stands, right?
Yep.
Remember Mr. Ackerman out there with one of his friends after it was done. How much he enjoyed it. The one thing I'll point out is that in Gary's email there, he talks about bid unit prices. So the way these contracts are set up is, so they're bid on quantities and then it's a per unit price for sidewalk. So if it's like 4 feet of sidewalk, 4 square feet, times multiple quantities that are in the drawing. So while it's classified as a change order, it's really already an established unit prices, just saying, I want more of that concrete at that price. It's not like had to go back to the contractor and say, okay, well, what's this gonna cost me? It's already right there, so prices are gonna get better, I guess is what I'm saying.
We got a great price on the concrete. So if we don't do these, especially like the shop area, we're gonna wanna do it at some point.
I actually noticed that one the other day when I was driving my kids to school, because I go through, and I was
Yep.
like, man, that's like all busted up, like there's giant cracks in it. And it crossed my mind, I wondered if that was being replaced with this. I couldn't remember what we had decided, so.
Kind of the same thing with the circle, you know, when Gary just walked the property, we didn't pay really close attention to it, but when we're out there with the spray paint saying this is going and this is staying, he's like, that's not good. That's not good. That's gonna need to be replaced in a couple years. And that was kind of the case for most of this stuff. And then, like I said, Bresky said, well, it would be kind of nice for snow removal to have this here or that there.
What was our original contract with them for all the?
$900,000. So this is 30,000.
And yes, we have the money. As you could see on the special.
One went forward, so
We're good there.
makes sense to do now.
Yeah.
Buildings and grounds, agree with that?
Cheaper to do it now.
Yeah. Okay, entertaining. Any questions for the discussion? So, entertain a motion, you ready?
I'll make a motion to approve the change order for the additional concrete.
I'll second.
A motion and second to approve the change order for the additional concrete as listed. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 6, consider increasing Siouxland Conference admission to 7.
Dan did a nice job of explaining everything associated with this. Again, majority ultimately rules with the conference. If we're a no vote, that's fine. Just know that the conference constitution says 7, if there's a 7 or greater majority, then it's enacted for the entire conference.
Discussion from the board on
So you have to get activity tickets through them if you do it, or that's just an option. You have to get them.
We wouldn't, again, it's a $2 per ticket.
Sure.
I'm not proposing that we raise our activity tickets by $2 and all of a sudden the family's gotta pay
Right.
$210 if I have a family of 5. I think we just, that's what it is. And at some point in the future, if we feel like we need to raise our activity ticket prices to recoup those costs, then we can, but
I guess I would say that the time it takes for me to do them and then the secretaries to deal with them, I think it's offsetting
the efficient.
the efficiency and just moving forward into the 21st, 22nd century or whatever we want to say, but
So will the kids still get, well, everybody gets an activities ticket, they still get a physical ticket?
Nope, it'll be on your, yeah, it'd be, if there's a student that doesn't have a phone, yeah, we can always print a card that you can carry. But it will be just like when you were go to a postseason game, you'll have a unique QR code that every time you go to the game, you'll just scan that from your phone.
Is that just part of that?
Yep.
You just,
Yep.
It'd be really nice if like an activity ticket could be kind of like a hospital badge. You just swipe and it charges your account, you know, like a debit card. It's like you don't have to carry.
Well, I like that, I would propose to, I could buy a Siouxland conference pass.
Mm-hmm.
And wherever I go, I just show up and I show you my thing.
Right.
what she's saying though is hook it to
I
her
know,
account.
I know.
That's
I know.
genius idea.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, like if you work at the hospital, you just swipe your badge, it charges your
Mhm.
account. and
It's a genius idea so that kids don't authorize it with the parents.
Yeah. But it's easier for me to send like a badge with my kids than it is, they don't have like a credit card or, you know.
Mm.
Or then you're not getting charged fees for every transaction because it's a ACH.
Yeah, I think I understand the need for it. I mean, we're golf course down south a month ago, that was 100% cashless. You brought your credit card in and that was it. I'm a little concerned about the precedent and kind of how this is coming about. And I wonder what it leads to next. You know, I feel a little concerned that feels like we're getting strong-armed by the conference into making financial decisions. And regardless of what the conference constitution says, I would question the legality of the conference being able to spend our taxpayers' money. You know, again, it's just the premise of it, and so where does it stop? So the next thing, well, now you all have to have a certain minimum video board in your high school gym or something, and it's a split conference vote, and okay, well, Central Lyon can spend the money. I've been pretty vocal on social media that I'm really disappointed in the conference choosing to charge for middle school track events. I think that's absurd. And where does that lead? Volleyball, basketball? So now next year, it gets back to the conference table and it's, oh yeah, well, we just added a little button here for middle school sports. So you guys can go ahead and start charging $5 for that now. And then the conference vote again is 9-1.
Yeah.
And now we're charging for middle school events and something we don't want to do. So I understand the need for it and, you know, I support that. I'm just a little concerned. What's the end game here? Where is this going to lead? My own personal thought. I don't know if that would prevent me from voting no tonight, I was relieved when Dan said it was a 5-year contract. But that was one of the immediate questions I had was it said 23-24 pricing, 90 cents. Okay, well, next year it goes to $1.80, you know, it's 5 years, so we'll able to evaluate it. I'm sure it'll be fine, but it's,
What is the reasoning or what's with the charging for the track meets and things? Why are so many doing that?
Because other schools don't have the fund balance that Central Lyon does in their activity account. So I would say 7 out of the 10 are running a deficit in their activity accounts. We have been blessed that we've been successful, and so our gate receipts since I've been here have been just very, very healthy. It's not the case for everybody else. We also, a long time ago, Mr. Ackerman and whoever did the video board sponsor agreements, that was genius. That's generating now, after the video board's been paid for, additional revenue that just started this year for us. And so, again, we've done some good things and our kids have been successful. So we're at a different spot. And track, there's 6 teams or 8 teams minimum at a track meet, boys and girls. And so now you got a lot of people coming to the track meets, and that's why people are trying to recoup not only their costs, but trying to pay for the deficits that they generated during basketball season.
And I think like to add to that, the middle school track meet that we added, Dan was looking for 21 workers. And, you know, volunteer, you gotta pay people. So, and where does that come from? So add on to that.
So will it be going to the basketball and volleyball games?
Well, that's why I voted no. I was the one no vote out of the 10 conference schools. And during the discussion, I said, if we start doing this for middle school track, then where does it end? And then they all threw it back in my face and said, well, you host a middle school wrestling meet and you charge for your middle school invitational meet. And so, you know, they were calling hypocrisy on me when I was pointing out that I was fearful that it's basketball or volleyball or what event next. And so Dan at that same meeting said, well, we charge because we want to cover the cost because we hire 6 or 8 officials that day.
At least 6.
And then, like Jackie's talking about, we got people that have to run the scoreboards that have to take the admission. And so we're just covering our costs, and any money that Dan makes, he turns around and gives back to the Lion's Den, because those are the people that are most often volunteering to help. So we are not making money, we're trying to cover our costs. And so that's the perspective of everybody else when they're talking about we're charging for middle school track, or we're considering charging for something. But I strenuously objected and nobody else joined me.
and that part of that was probably centered around the discussion Amy and I had with them the day before. But it just didn't sit right, especially with me. numbers, it should be, but clearly we were outnumbered.
Brent, are you saying you did not vote in favor of charging for middle school track
Correct.
admission?
Correct.
Or this as a whole?
No, middle school track.
That's okay.
There wasn't really any vote on this.
Hasn't been heard.
Yeah. Because he said to bring it back to our boards for consideration.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily trying to tie the vote to increase $1 versus what might happen in the future. We'll just cross that bridge when we get there. But at least that's kind of out in the open that this was middle school events with the basketball kid plays on the C team and he gets in at the end of the game. And we're gonna charge grandpa and grandpa who drove in from West River, South Dakota to go see him. And like Brent said, we're in a different boat, right? Our athletics are heartily supported in the school district. Our fund balance is different for sure. So those other schools are gonna take the opportunity when they can raise some cash rather easily, they're gonna do it.
And they were just charging for adults and not students, right?
Correct.
Middle school, so.
Does the contract with Bound that he talked about, he said that guarantees the fees to stay the same. Does it guarantee the fact that we don't have to do our like camps and things through there or
Correct.
our t-shirt sales or fundraisers? I mean, I wouldn't want to like have that change next year and say it's required now because that obviously Booster Club would.
So let me see if I can get back to this here. So what was on the front of that handout from Deanne
Mhm.
are the required things. So over here.
Yep.
So on the back, we wouldn't have to do this at the top. We wouldn't have to use the camp. We could continue to just use JMC to collect our camp registration fees.
Mhm.
But you are
So
expected,
JMC, there's a charge with that too, but it's not,
I don't think it's 6%,
yeah.
but there's a processing fee.
What are we talking, the JMC, like to pay your lunch and stuff?
Mhm.
It's Payment Springs, and yes, we've been eating those costs. For specific things, but if a parent chooses to pay, I think there is some cost passed on too.
I think it's
For the ease of it,
Yeah,
I think
at
it's 3%.
registration, we waive
We
those
will, yeah.
fees.
but then throughout the year you do pay. And then we pay a processing fee as well, just to have that option.
So again, the Let's Go Bound. These are the things that you're getting with it. But I don't know what the hidden fees are.
Mhm. I get that you get those things with it. I'm asking more like, you know, like he said, we wouldn't really promote those things through there. But I mean, if the contract next year, if they say, now in order to get it free,
That's why I
you do
don't-
have to promote
I
it
don't
through
have the
here.
Let's Go Bound on here because.
I mean, I feel like they kind of have us in a,
And so, again, once we see a contract,
Mhm.
then Okoboji has agreed that their attorney is gonna review the contract before we bring it back to our boards for consideration. Right now, we're just talking about, are we comfortable raising the ticket price by $1?
And again, if it comes back to the contract and we don't like it, we're not gonna matter.
Okay, so, but it's 7 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
The same objections that you guys are having are the same conversations that White Rock Valley tabled it, right? Boyden Hall has a meeting, you know. There's, I think he said Okoboji, MOC, West Lyon, Sheldon, I think we're 4 that have said yes already to go into $7.
So did Rock Valley table it and look at the contract first?
To have the conversation about raising ticket prices.
But going along with raising the price goes going cashless through and having all the ticketing going through Bound.
Yep.
So that's all you're really asking for discussion or conversation or approval to do at this point.
Correct.
So we're only raising the price if we go through bound.
So shouldn't we have to approve that first before we raise prices? We
In the backwards.
go backwards,
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
and we can table it till next.
Table
That's what I wondered.
I
if we
mean,
could
is there
table
any
it
hurry
until
that
we-
we have to approve it tonight?
No, I think he
I'm
said
not
they wanted
opposed to it,
decisions.
but we get the contract and we're not, schools don't like the contract and, well, then we gotta vote again next month, to lower it back
Yeah.
down to 6 months. Yeah, and the motion could be worded however we wanted to, if we really wanted to do it. If we wanted to, if we felt we needed to send a message to the Siouxland Conference that we're open to it, you know, it could be a motion to approve this contingent on approving the contract, or just table it too. It's fine by me. Especially if Rock Valley already did it. There's already one that did it, to wait to see what that contract looks like.
It is a little bit concerning to give up that control, I
Mhm.
guess, of now kind of handing this over to a third party to do all that ticketing and potentially, who knows what with fees at some point down the road.
So we're always having, it's bound to happen.
Yeah.
Then one way or the other.
Yeah, I think I'm just more concerned with the contract at this point, just
Right.
making sure
Yeah.
that, it is what we think it is, and that there isn't all this, 1 year, and then the second year, we don't know what's gonna happen or whatnot. We know that these are guaranteed, the 90 cents or whatever is a 5-year contract, but what about anything else with it?
Brent, do we know what the timing is going to be for that review of the contract by what will be determined?
I am not on the committee that's working with Bound. And so I don't know, there's a timeline. I know there's a training for Let's Go Bound on June 8th that Dan has signed up for. So that if indeed we're gonna be doing this, he knows what to do. That's the only date that I have.
So the way I see it, there's 3 options. We just vote no to begin with, or we vote to approve the cost increase contingent on the contract. Table.
And kind of in the second option, we can just contingent on the contract.
We'll have to approve the contract.
What's that?
Well, we'll have to come back and we'll have to approve the contract. At a later date.
Yep.
Or at least make our vote. Right. Yeah, we'd have to, if we make the motion that we approve the increase contingent on the contract, certainly bring the contract back as a new business item.
But again, that's a conference vote ultimately, right?
Yeah.
Like or not, get the
If 7 other members wanna do it, that's part of being a member of the Siouxland
Yeah.
Conference.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's the majority that has to approve it is 7.
Yeah, that's what our bylaws say.
Think we okay with approving contingent on the contract? Okay,
Contingent, what, contingent review of the contract, what are you asking me to do?
you're putting me on the spot.
Yep.
Contingent on-
9:37, sure.
Brain slowing down. Just contingent upon board approval of contract with Joel. Yep.
Motion.
That's my motion. We have a motion and second. Scott's motion as worded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Carried. Item 7, consider Mid-Sioux Transportation Agreement for 23-24.
This is, Mid-Sioux is Head Start. And so, again, this contract is same language as previous years. We partner with Mid-Sioux, help find a bus driver, pick up a kid for Head Start. We go all over the county to pick kids up.
It's a 1-year contract. We've been looking at
Every
year.
annual year. Yep, this time of year, every year.
Any questions? Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Deborah. Motion and second to approve the Mitsui Transportation Agreement for 23-24. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Item 8, consider sharing agreement with GLR for transportation director for 23-24 school year.
Again, continuing our 80-20 shared contract with GLR for Lane Many 4 days at Central Lyon, 1 day at George Little Rock. So you can see the breakdown there, the detail. Salary, benefits, and everything else.
So the only changes are really the breakdowns that
Salary increase,
these numbers are for next year's.
correct.
Questions, discussion? So I'll entertain a motion to approve. So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the sharing agreement with GLR for the transportation director for next year. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item 8, consider contract with Health Services Lyon County for nursing services.
Same hours.
A little bit increased in cost, just likely due to salaries and operating costs.
Correct.
Still, the estimated cost of $60,000 for that is
Pretty good deal.
pretty good deal. I think Nurse Brenda coming back next year.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
Bless. She does a great job here. Questions, discussion on that? So entertain a motion to approve that agreement when you're ready.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the contract with Health Services, Lyon County for next year's nursing services. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item 10, consider sharing agreement for a school social worker with the Northwest AEA. We talked about earlier.
See, I just opened the contract here. Our responsibility would be $22,905 or 20% of the total salary. Again, 1 day a week, that's where the 20% comes in. We generate a similar sharing incentive.
So is that net then about a wash?
Yes. Again, the agreement with Northwest AEA, like I said, I know that West Lyon has currently a social worker. George Little Rock, Rock Valley are also interested. I mentioned those 4 because Jeff Jagger works with those. We actually just had a meeting with those folks a couple weeks ago. Talk about similar issues that those folks are facing.
Any more discussion on the plan for that? As I entertain a motion when you're ready.
Make a motion to approve the sharing agreement for a social worker. CEA.
I'll second.
A motion and second to approve the sharing agreement for school social worker with Northwest AEA for next year. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Item 11, consider adding a high deductible health plan with a health savings account / HSA.
So I want to thank Jackie for all her hard work on the insurance. She's fielded 98% of the questions, walked a lot of staff members through this option as compared to our Plan A and Plan B, which are they're same plans that we've had, those copay plans. We did eliminate kind of the middle plan that only 10 employees were using. So the high deductible plan is listed there, 4,000 max out of pocket. If you're a single, $8,000 max out of pocket. But the big difference is on those high deductible health plans, you paying first dollar. So you go to the doctor, if you have a kid that breaks their arm, could be $250, could be $750, depending upon what they broke. That's where the HSA comes in. Using split fund dollars, it's our recommendation, $2,650 to singles in an HSA, and then $5,300 to families or employee plus spouse or employee plus children. Trying to kind of break that down and give you, if all of our employees took this option, it would cost us $271,000 from the split fund. Jackie's report, we're just over $900,000 in the split fund, so there's funds there. If everybody,
Everybody's saying that we don't need, they're recommending having at least 400 or 500.
In the past, it's been around $300,000, and so we're,
conservatively,
and I would say that's even conservative, really.
Yeah.
That was when we first enrolled with them in 2017 or whatever, that was just sort of the guesstimate, and we've never even come close, so. It's a
that's
very
why the
conservative.
fund rose.
Yes.
Because, again, our claims have been pretty, healthy.
The HSA, correct me if I'm wrong here, but that's like an investment account. So
Mhm.
probably really attractive for younger, healthy people that can really invest that amount and grow it.
Like the conversation that I had this morning with his two staff members was, this is basically if approved, is basically a raise, an additional raise.
Yeah.
A gift to you that you then can invest and forever be yours if you don't use it. If you use it, that means you're utilizing the healthcare as it's designed.
Also, our firm added something like this a couple of years ago. So it's not uncommon.
We are really hearing more and more of our younger staff, as you said, who have been exposed to this, either with a family member or a previous job or something like that, or maybe even because of a spouse or.
And this really came about because we're trying to make it more affordable for our families on our plan. Our premium was a lot. This not only controls the premium if you go to the high deductible plan, but it also, the HSA has those triple tax benefits on top of everything.
Yeah, I don't know that our family premium drops significantly in the eyes of the consumer, but if it doesn't drop significantly, you have to remember you're still getting the HSA contribution. So
So I know,
there's an offset there.
yeah, sure. So I know Personnel Committee did a lot of work. Any thoughts?
Well, Jackie did.
Good to go.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jack.
I'd say
Most of it.
Mr. Jorth, he likes
And
to
then they
say
had
that,
open
but he
meetings with
really-
staff, so we didn't have to. really-
Between Mr. Jorth and myself and Gallagher,
Meetings.
it was some great meetings, and I think we landed where we wanted to land, so.
And the last thing I would tell you is the HSA contribution, that's not a guarantee. That was communicated to staff when we met with staff. We would love to be able to continue to offer this. It's just a matter of how many staff members go over there.
Yeah.
What does the split fund look like next year? How many claims are applied to our partially self-funded split fund? And if we're able to do this, we'd love to keep doing it. If we need to back it off a little bit to make sure that we stay above the 300, 400, whatever level we're comfortable with, we can do that on an annual basis.
Yeah, and I think Seth, from Gallagher, when he was here, told the staff, this is an unusual contribution amount. This is almost unheard of. So we're very happy that we'll be able to do that for our staff and hopefully for another couple of years. And then if we, like I said, we'll reevaluate.
How long have we been doing this plan? 6 years?
The,
It's partially self-funded.
I thought it was 2017, but I wanted,
2017, I think.
yep, 2017 was our
So
beginning
let's
year.
call it 6 years.
So 16, 17 was the year of inception, so.
about $125,000 each year going into that.
Year going into it.
Yeah.
Annually, approximately.
Yeah, there have been years it's been,
If everyone takes it,
that will decrease.
260,000 this year, but the estimate is that about half the people will maybe take it.
Yeah.
So we're bound in that $125,000, $150,000 range, call it. So if that percentage of people continue to take it, of the HSA, and we continue to put that amount in, it'll almost be self-funded going forward without drawing down that current balance. Could be.
The only difference is our contributions to the split fund will decrease with the
Sure.
number of people hopping to the high deductible.
Okay, good one.
So I just want to put that out there, that we won't contribute to the split fund as much as we have been, because we have a whole redesign now.
Sure.
But we'll still have people.
Just depends on how many make the switch.
I've already had several people say, I'm good, I'm not moving, I can't because of a family related issue, I can't because of another. So we definitely will not have everyone.
Do you have any gauge on like how many people you think will? Or
Not yet,
Not really.
because I've only got about this many turned in, and I need about this many turned in. So they're supposed to have through the end of this week. Unfortunately, I've had some personal issues myself taking me out of the office. So if I have to extend a few more days, we will. We kind of gave a gauge. I want to get it from people before I lose them for the summer, because I don't have a choice with that, and needing to get that turned into the companies. But we're working with staff who need a little extra time.
Sounds like we've done our due diligence. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve, adding the high deductible health plan and health savings.
Second.
A motion and second to add the high deductible health plan and the HSA. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item 12, consider open enrollment out request.
Yep, you can see we've got a family member, new kindergartner joining their older sibling out to Rock Valley. And as we talked about before, the legislature changed the rules on open enrollment, so we really have no authority to deny.
Motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the open enrollment out.
Second. Motion and second to approve the open enrollment out as listed. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Item 13, consider first reading of a bunch of policies listed. We've got a few we're waiting on and a few that have been referred back to Finance Committee. The one that I found interesting that everybody should take a chance to read if you haven't already was the board member social media engagement policy.
Yep.
Anything in particular you want to point out there, Mr. Dorth?
Pull it up here quick. They've never had this policy before. So I attached it. There it is. We've always had like a policy around social media or appropriate use for staff. Now it's just a similar type of policy for board members. Again, first readings.
We recommend, since at least one of them's a new policy, just do the first reading and not waive the second.
Correct. The others, I think you can waive them because the language is really pretty simple and straightforward.
So waive everything but
This one.
200, all four?
As you have read the packet or looked at the policies, if there's something that you don't want to, I think we pulled the ones
Yeah.
that
Yeah, we did.
we need more time to consider, or we want finance to weigh in on.
Any discussion on those questions? A lot of them there.
You know, I'll just click on 210, you know, it's like, we're changing 6 words here.
I was thinking we were gonna move the 701.02, the transfer of funds. Were we gonna give that one to the finance committee also or not?
If there's not really any changes, I don't know that it was
Okay, does it not
necessary.
matter? Okay.
See, but
So what this is really calling out is you can take these funds, preschool, professional development, homeschool assistance, teacher salary supplement, where before it was only the teacher leadership salary supplement. The rules from the Department of Ed always said we had to do what's in green here.
Okay.
So we've never done this. We, as a board, we've never transferred any of our categoricals to a flex fund. We always really spent down our categoricals before we used our general fund dollars for anything. So,
a little different terminology of what we usually are thinking
Sure.
with transfer of funds, so
Yeah.
it's more about categoricals. Gotcha.
you know, I think the other language that came out of the legislation here is, again, typically you cannot transfer funds from categoricals to anywhere. But more importantly, you can usually never transfer anything from general fund to the activity account. So that's what these other two paragraphs at the bottom are saying, is that if you want to, if you have carryover in preschool and we have a board resolution and we say we want to pay for our deficits in the future in activities, we could transfer it from those categoricals into the activity account.
But this is the one also, I think, that we talked about safety equipment.
Mhm.
Yep.
Football helmets.
Yep.
Good question. Any more? Otherwise, I think the motion is to approve the first reading and waive the second reading of all policies listed except for 200.04,
Which is a new policy.
which is a new policy, and then be approved first reading only.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading and waive the second reading of all policies as listed, with the exception of 200.04. And will approve the first reading of 200.04.
Well done.
Nice. Second?
Have a motion and second for what Amy said. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Let's move on to item 14, personnel. Let's take the resignations and hirings together if we can.
You bet. I would just call out, you know, thank those that are resigning for their service. Specifically Linda Peterson. Linda's spent 32 years with us. Been a very valuable member of the custodial staff, food service staff, done a lot of different things for the district over her career, so I really do thank her. And then Mark Lutmer, we thought we had him coming back. Broke our hearts when he decided to turn in his resignation, but we thank Mark for everything and wish him nothing but the best. He's going to continue to help us with driver's ed. But he resigned the baseball a couple years ago, and now he's stepping away from the basketball. And then Brandy and Lola also appreciate their help. I don't know if Mr. Harmon, you want to mention anything specifically about Emery or Tina?
We were very excited to have Sarah come back and got two local entities, one CL grad, one really close from here, and really excited at our pool of new staff coming in.
And then the summer school hires, I didn't list all of them because there's a lot of them in there. But if you were to click on the summer school hires, we've got teachers and we've got paras listed.
Pretty typical from previous years.
So we thank all of them for giving up their mornings in the summer to work with our kids and try to really fill some gaps.
Any questions on any of the hiring or resignations? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve both of those when you're ready.
Make a motion to approve the resignations and hirings as listed.
I'll second.
A motion and second to approve the personnel resignations and hirings as listed. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Item J, announcements / dates to remember.
So obviously it's senior week. Tomorrow's senior awards assembly. We talked about preschool, same thing on Friday with commencement on Sunday. I know Andy has to be out of town for his own nephew's graduation. I don't know if anybody else is available or would like to hand out diplomas on Sunday at 3:00. If you guys are, just let me know. Put a chair on the stage. Otherwise, I'll be Jason will read the names and I'll hand the diplomas. So call me, text me right up to 3:00 on Sunday. If we have everybody here that wants to do it, great. If it's just me, I'm fine with that. So. Otherwise, you can see we got a lot of things going on, obviously. But the second Monday in June is when we typically have our meetings. We need to either decide that that's when we're going to do my evaluation, or we need to maybe find a different date before or after. I think we definitely want to get it done by the 1st of July. But if we can't meet on the 12th because people are already got plans, then we need to talk about what date in June we'll be meeting for our regular meeting, and then decide if that night we're going to do the evaluation or if we need to find a different date.
Does personnel committee need to meet with you prior?
I don't necessarily think so. I think
About the review, you mean?
we can.
Not necessarily.
We
I
talked
think you talked
about
about
it.
sending it to us
Yep.
a little bit early, but
Yes.
I don't think we
What
needed to
happened with
meet.
Lily's wrist and hand, I wasn't able to get that done.
Do we remember traditionally how long is that June agenda?
So I will not be available that week. So that kind of takes.
That's the 12th through the 16th, is that?
Right.
Okay.
Or the Thursday, Friday before that.
Okay.
So that kind of takes out your evaluation from that. The board meeting can happen then, it's fine.
So that's with the agenda last June. You guys can read that. 9 items.
Which
We've already got health services,
We'll have Matt here too. Right?
FEH.
Matt will be here.
We might have Lisa here by then, but I just don't think so. We'll have equipment maintenance, we'll have milk bread, fuel bids. I don't know about fees. So, not horrible.
So that was last year.
Is the appetite to do that review the same night as whenever the board meeting is scheduled? Or is there a preference among the board to do them separate?
I prefer one night.
And maybe we can intentionally, Brent, if possible, limit some stuff we'll put on the agenda and move it to July, if possible.
Yeah. I mean, here's the 2 years ago, same agenda items.
Okay, so if we're gonna do it all in one night, Dave's not here on the 12th, what's the calendar look like for? Dave, you're out 8th through the 16th essentially,
Yes.
okay?
Will you have time to prepare for the meeting if we do it the 19th, or not really? Are you on vacation?
Vacation
Yeah.
most of the week. Back before the weekend.
Yeah.
I think, not that it's a big deal, not that I could miss one, but think Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays is when like I have rec softball. Not that that's a huge thing if I have to miss one. The Mondays are open for me.
How's the 19th look? Maybe the Monday after you come back.
Varsity softball at 5:30, JV softball at 4.
It's
Oh,
Juneteenth.
is that?
Juneteenth. Why do I feel like there's something else
Yeah,
on Juneteenth?
softball. Is what it's
The national.
With,
Is that home game?
At MOC.
nothing else.
I don't know if you have kids and things.
I do,
but-
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I've got a softball player, but that doesn't matter. I can miss one game.
okay, do we want to, need to start a little early or 7 okay?
I think 7's fine. We're going to 10
I was gonna
after
say, if
10
it goes-
tonight.
if it's gonna go this long, I'd rather start earlier, but
I intentionally talked a little bit longer so we could cross over the 10 o'clock.
It's the first time.
Okay, so 19th is okay at 7 o'clock?
Don't put that on
Alright.
your resume.
I have a resume?
19th at 7 o'clock.
Oh, yes. Tell me.
And the evaluation.
And evaluation, yep.
So that'll be a closed session. That I need to post, so, okay.
And I'll get the review to you guys here before the 1st of June.
We're on the bill review. That would be great.
Yeah. Yep.
Thanks, everybody. Unless you want to hang out longer and watch us sign bills.
Here. Do you need these?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Here's, start there. Oh, no, no. I was gonna get you the night off, but then you put it on the agenda.
You.
You can't get an audit back.
Oh, thank you.
You waited all this time just to give us those? You had to wait all this time?
We did.
10 o'clock?
Or were you the nominated?
I was
Yeah,
nominated as
who's
the-
nominated for the the latest
I know, I
board
said you
meeting?
think
Late show? Late show.